Not funny. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Not funny.
Welcome to the RedBlue podcast number 108. And you may realize there's satire there. I laugh at myself and I let Dre poking fun at me and my many insides jokes saying not funny because sometimes I feel like it's a critique that's valid. Anyway, with that being said, we got a lot going on today. How are you, Austin? Maybe he's driving or screaming at someone.
I'm
Oh,
doing
he's there.
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Yeah, just it's a pleasure to be on. First time on the channel. It's I look forward to talking some nerd stuff with you guys.
Hell yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for being there, man. Even if you drive, you're there. That's like priceless. That's more dedication than some people I
man.
know. Yeah, it's commitment, exactly. It's more commitment than others I know. Anyway, Cole, I don't know what's up, but like there's a glitch noise there.
Is there on my side? Is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's better.
Crackling.
Okay, thank God. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't do that too much. I don't get what the issue is.
Maybe it was the cable or the wire or whatever
Yeah,
we
it
call
seems
that
to
thing.
be the case with that. I don't.
Honestly, I
Get
think Cole is just too sexy for his mic. The mic can't handle.
Jesus Christ.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, I'm doing all right though. Hopefully my mic doesn't fuck up throughout the stream.
It
and,
seems fixed now.
Okay, thank God. And
yeah.
yeah. Also, I have not seen any of the topics today, sadly, but I decided to join anyway.
God damn it, Cole.
Oh no, Cole, you just ended my life, bro. You just okay. So that's the inside joke. Like, we had a talk, Austin, yesterday. That lasted my entire break. I actually seeded my break, and now you can connect some dots
Oh yeah.
at Cole inside joke. And I will enlighten you, Bob. We just talked about it backstage. So, yeah, that was one of the last few things we mentioned backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, now that I passed you the mic, Bob, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me, first off. This is my first time on as well, so I do appreciate the invite and being invited onto your lovely show here. And like Austin, I'm really excited to talk some geek stuff with you guys and hear Cole's opinion, which he shouldn't have any since he didn't see any of the stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Oh, okay, that's golden. You see, because
Well, you see, I read the
Oh,
Wikipedia article. That's enough.
Wikipedia up in
I've seen
front
a
of you
video
now.
about it, and therefore I have an opinion.
Yep.
Just wait till you hear my thoughts about Homecoming. You're gonna have a blast.
So, yes.
Oh
This is
God.
gonna- this is going to be very interesting.
Homecoming.
This is hands down the best intro, and I think if he sees it, he will hate me. He will hate us all.
Probably.
No, now I gotta say, DC, you're a good friend. You're a good friend. It's not a point. It's just that I will be blunt and honest. You broke me. We will talk about it this weekend. Don't worry, DC. We'll talk about it. But you broke me, man. Now I gotta say, because yesterday, I talked about the Fall Guy. I will add something I didn't mention, and I feel like it's worth mentioning, and I feel so guilty because in the same stream I speak about media literacy, which is something we will cover shortly. So without going into too deep into any of the spoiler in the Fall Guy for those who haven't seen it, one of the themes and one of the ideas that the movie had was all Hollywood stars, they want to get away with stuff. And in real life, we were witness of many cases. Amber, Ezra Miller, or I should say Crazy Miller, a lot of things like that. And if you have seen The Fall Guy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's a subtle thing, a very subtle thing. And that goes back to media literacy. Now, before we dive deep into it, I will share what I consider media literacy, and then I will pass the mic to Goon or Austin or whoever wants to go second.
Okay.
So, for me, media literacy, and I think it's for most people as well, it's the understanding, the analysis of themes, message, character arc, story arc, the writing itself in media in general. It's, are you able to tell me properly what's the theme of the movie? Are you able to tell me the theme? Are you able to tell me there's echo? That was subtle. I hope so. Um, but yeah, um, there's echo. Now I'm blunt and honest. But anyway, I don't know where it's coming from. I hope it's not me. Oh, now I think it's gone.
Yeah, it's Bob. So yeah, just anytime you're not speaking, Bob, I guess mute your mic. But when you want
Yeah.
to say something, just unmute it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
Bob, just shut the hell up, okay?
so this is my definition of media literacy, and it will be something I will bring back in the first big topic and such. So I will pass the mic now. Who wants to go second? The
Sure,
floor
I
is yours.
guess. Yeah, I mean, I have similar thoughts on it too. It is just like analyzing and understanding the story, writing characters and everything. But to like a good extent, and there's definitely like more basic surface level like stories and character stuff you can get out of things. Like we talked. You guys like reviewed for a bit Homecoming the other day. You were talking about it a bit, I believe, and yeah, like there's you can get like basic surface level messages for it in like some ways with that stuff, but there's a lot more to it than that. And with pretty much every film, like it doesn't even like scratch the surface, and with like actually all the character arc things and understand then all the messages and stuff that like Tony Stark's character, for example, goes through while dealing with that. There's just a lot to it. Like just to use as another example, yeah, last night me and Joker watched this film called Asphalt City. And it's basically about these like paramedics, and like trying to save people in like a high crime, like a New York area, very gritty, bunch of encounters that are like crazy and everything. And it has a lot of assholes, has some good people, bad. Well, there's really no like good people, or they all have their flaws. There's a lot to it, and basic understanding is just stuff like, yeah, there's there's these assholes. They're doing these assholeish things. Like that's a basic understanding of it, but there's again that's surface level. There's a lot more to it, and that people should like try to understand. If they're gonna like watch and like try to review films online, like understand in media literacy and understand and like analyzing all this stuff, because there's a lot more to it than that. For example, like there's a lot of messages with like the guardian angel stuff and other religious aspects and everything to it, just for like one example. And there's like a lot of scenes with like blood as well and symbolism there, how like there's like a blood splatter and it's like in the shape of angel wings. There's many things like that, and it's throughout like each film you can analyze, like especially with all the emotions the character goes through in each film or show. Like it's there's a lot to it, and and it's fine if like somebody isn't as experienced and doesn't like understand that stuff yet. But again, I think the beauty of it is just like trying to learn over time and get experience from that, and try to like analyze films better. Like it's fine if you start out like basic. I think everybody did, but I think put in the effort to at least grow. And if you're gonna review films online and everything, or try to be a critic, I think is very important, instead of just like putting your foot down and saying it's just my opinion. But no, that's just my thoughts. What about you, Bob or Austin?
Just before that, sorry, that's a great segue, but I gotta second you and say that I agree 100% with the near end where not everyone starts off this way. And I will be blunt and honest. I'm pretty sure when we first started the podcast, my media literacy wasn't anywhere near as good as now because I didn't review as much things. I didn't add as many discussion about things.
Hmm.
And I do think talking with you, Cole, helped me out a lot. And I do think that watching other content creator talking about media literacy without really talking about media literacy helped me out understanding.
Yeah, and also it's fine if like you still don't like something. Like for example, I'll use this as one. The menu, Multi didn't like it very much, but there were things with like the messages and the character stuff that he did get wrong, and like certain details. Like for example, there was one where he's like, it was kind of a reach to believe that like the captain of this boat, this patrol officer, would like be in on it with them, would just decide to do so. But then because he missed in the background that he actually wasn't a captain, he was playing a character. He was actually one of the chefs, because then after that scene, he could see him in the background putting back on his chef coat. So stuff like that and other messages. But at the end of the day, it still doesn't just like the film or anything and what it was trying to do, so that's fine. So you can like think that's important. Like you might miss things in certain films, or just eh, or like get things wrong, but you can still just like not like the film or the show. That's perfectly fine. It just didn't, like, you weren't attached to it, you didn't vibe with it. That's fine. That's fine to say, instead of just saying, in my opinion, no, I do think this is like plot convenience or other things like that, or didn't explain it even though it clearly did. And
Yeah.
the same thing, like vice versa. Like a film can have as many flaws as possible, but if it's like something you attach to very well and personally really enjoy, then that topples anything else, because that's art.
Yeah, and I will also add something else about it. Like again, uh I improved on media literacy a lot, and I also feel like Gray and Alex were also part of that journey with me, because one
Mhm.
of the first few reviews I was the most proud of was actually with Alex when Cole had issues. That was right before you kind of like took a break. That was Red Rooms. I was so proud of my understanding of Red Rooms. That was a 2023 movie. That was wonderful. Highly recommend. One of my favorite movie ever. Um, I liked it a lot, and just Alex and I, we basically were waiting for Cole to come back because he had some kind of glitch or lag, or I think maybe that was
Yeah,
Gray.
my power went out, but yeah, I talked about the other day, and yeah, you analyzed it very well, and that was growth, because beforehand we reviewed a film like Anatomy of the Fall, and one thing you did miss about it was how it's like the film was also just like about like misogyny as well, and like how they were like treating the one main female character and everything. When it's pretty like obvious you probably didn't do it, and like just their attitude and stuff, which you missed. But then you got more of that stuff like that with Red Rooms, because you grew and started understanding it more.
And I'll also add something else to it. Like, even as of today, when I feel like I improved a lot on that. Yesterday we talked about, or I should say, I talked about Love Lies Bleeding, and I'm wondering who has seen it on the panel here outside of Cole.
Austin has seen it. He could definitely.
Yeah,
He
So
loved
before
seen it.
we ask Goon and Austin about their take on media literacy, I will ask Cole and Austin. The ending, I didn't understand shit about it, and now I'm asking the both of you because both of you have seen it, and I will also want to understand it. And again, because I didn't understood it when I was doing my review, I didn't take away any points from it because I didn't understand it. Because
Right.
I realized, like, even if I don't get it, it's not fair if I punish the movie for it. And sometimes people punish something
I
for
and well,
something
yeah,
they didn't understand.
and at least you can, you admit that and say, look, it's a. I don't know. If Cole feels the same way, it's a lot to unpack in that
Yeah.
ending. There is a lot because it's the culmination of basically the entire movie. So you have the references to where she's slowly, when she's angry throughout the movie, she's slowly like growing like the Hulk. Her like muscles,
Yeah.
which I love. I love that part is like freaky body horror. Like um so it's building up to that. It's building up to both of them feel entrapped and imprisoned by their situation, and there's a freedom at the end once they've released themselves. They are, specifically, both those characters is, she's been trying to get to Vegas. She's held back, for her competition. Kristen Stewart's held back by her father. And this was them taking control and moving on from that situation, moving, no matter the circumstances, and because of the love that they found in each other. Uh, so it was very metaphorical. It was very metaphorical of whereas up until that point the movie had a lot of literal things. It was a metaphorical build up to, just as the movie is. It's a big build up to an explosive ending. It's everything just culminates and happens within about 20 or 25 minutes, and it's this kind of smash of all these themes and all the different things that I just mentioned. Cole will probably explain it better, but that's my take.
So my big question is, how the f she grew that big? Like,
Well, it was in her mind. It was
okay,
obviously, it's how she, and it's also how Kristen is seeing her. Kristen's seeing her as this kind of savior figure, getting her out of this situation and stuff. So she's the hero. Kristen never looked at herself. Kristen runs the gym, but she doesn't work out. She's not a fighter. She's not this and that. So she doesn't really stand up for herself, and she sees a lot of beauty and a lot of she's kind of enthralled by all of that in Katie O'Brien's character.
the muscle girl basically did what the other one couldn't, and that
Right.
was cool. And I think one of the things that was key, and now I develop on that because that's one of the things I feel like I kind of understood well is, oh look, she was so close from her dream, but she ruined it by being a junkie with that steroid, if we can call it that way.
Right.
And she basically ruined her own life by bashing someone the way she did
Right. Well,
after the
yeah, and again,
competition.
all because of love. Hence, love. Like, it's a love is a tragic thing, and it makes you do crazy things. And she even says it in the movie. She calls somebody and says, "Don't ever fall in love," and all that type of thing.
Yeah, and I maybe I'm wrong on that, but um, I'm wondering if the movie really addresses toxic masculinity. I feel like it's clearly one of the themes of the movie. Maybe I think, but again, I'm not perfect, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
I would think too. I want to like Cole. I feel like Cole. What are your thoughts so far? Did we
Cool.
lose Cole? Maybe Cole's power went out.
I hope not. No, go.
Cole, are you there?
He's muted and he speaks.
Yeah, you're
I'm
muted in
having
case
more
you've been
mic
talking to
trouble.
something.
Just give me.
Oh,
Okay, so
no.
I guess Austin, do you have an answer on that since Cole has issues?
Okay, so what was the question one more time?
Uh, I feel like one of the themes of love,
Oh,
life,
toxic
bleeding.
masculinity.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. A bit with the father. You have the father that's very manipulative and kind of hovering over Kristen and stuff. Mm. Dave Franco's character who's beating up his wife and doing all that. So absolutely, it's. But what's interesting is it doesn't pose these characters, these girls, as victims
yeah,
of toxic masculinity, which I thought was that's the interesting part about it. They're not victims to it. I mean, for God's sakes, it opens with Katie, having sex with one of the gym dudes for something that's just, she's kind of the hustle and tussle. It's like, like I'm gonna get what I need to get. I'll give you something for it, and I'm gonna move on with my life. She's got a mission, a goal to get to Vegas, and so yeah, absolutely, it deals a lot with the toxic man. But again, it's not it's portraying them not as victims, but in a world of toxic masculinity, and how do you handle that? How do you survive that? How do you get out of that? Again, not without a victim attitude. They both are able to get by pretty much for themselves. Even Kristen, who doesn't fight back so much, is still. Cole says in the chat he's having some mic troubles. To skip him, he does say he agrees with
With
everything that I'm saying for the record. So cool. Yeah,
yeah.
he agrees with me. So I'm right.
Yeah, that's good. Oh yes, I'm not crazy. You see, this is media literacy, I think, in a nutshell. So I will ask the goo now. What's your take? What do you think of media literacy? What's your definition of it?
Well, not to sound too redundant with the rest of you guys, because I do agree with you, and I definitely agree with Cole and his take on it. But that's really what it boils down to. It's really just being able to analyze messages and themes and tones in movies and actually have an understanding of them, um, have some sort of takeaway. And it's not something obviously that if you just go casually watching a movie, you might not be looking for any more deeper meaning or messages in what you're looking at, or any of the symbolism of what the director is trying to show you, or anything like that, which is fine. But at the same time, it does take a little bit to. You definitely got to watch a lot of movies and see how other people actually critique and talk about movies, really, before you start picking up on these things. And it's like you said, Multi, it took you a little while, but eventually you get there to where you can watch a movie and you can pick up on all those things, and it actually adds to the enjoyment of the film as well, which is always a plus for me. Um, so that I mean, that would basically be it for me as far as media literacy goes. It's just really being able to understand, analyze, critically think about what you're seeing, and really just get the big picture of it.
And I will add more. Again, it's a work in progress. Like, I'm sure as we evolve as people, we can be good at something, but we can always become better and better. We are never perfect. We are never peak. So again, it's a work in progress. I'm better than I was yesterday, but tomorrow hopefully I will improve and keep going in the right way and be better with it. Like we all hope to strive toward better outcomes. So Austin, you're the last one. So what is media literacy for you?
Um, Media literacy for me. I mean, look, I think there's a lot of different types of audiences and stuff, but I think when you talk about like real media literacy and being able to have like a conversation about cinema and themes and all those types of things, I think it just means it shows care. Like you have a lot of general audiences that you know for the most part they're watching one or two movies a month, one or two shows a month. They've got busy lives, they've got work, family, all these things. They're not dedicated to us like we are and stuff. So they're just looking to have a good time and entertainment. We get mad at these people and go, oh, they like everything. But they're just that's what they want. They're looking for an escape. They're looking for something easy and something, and sure, when something special comes along, like Dune 2 or some of these other things, like it's a big deal. And it brings people like that out, and watching something that maybe they wouldn't usually. Uh but I mean, media literacy for me is just care. It's care about the movies, it's care about the art form, and it's care about the history of it and the context of things. That's what it is for me. It's for me just actually showing care about uh film and movies in general.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess that sums up very well media literacy. I'm wondering if any of you would like to add something to this media literacy thing. I guess not. I will take
Yeah,
that silence as a
yeah,
no.
I pretty much summed up my thoughts well on it. Just yeah, again, it's fine if you don't want to analyze stuff like that, or you don't get it. Like that's cool. It's just if you're gonna try to pick up like being a movie reviewer on YouTube or a journalist or just anything of the sorts, or do like movie podcasts, I think it's important. important tool to learn.
Yeah, and I do agree. So that's the perfect segue. Now that we explained very well what is media literacy, um, yes, part of our explanation is our spin on it. Yes, parts of it may be opinion, maybe, but I'd say the essence of it is objective. It's something we can all agree on because we basically said the same thing with a different spin. Am I crazy to say that?
Yeah, it depends, but for the most part, in a lot of cases, yeah. Again, it sometimes it like works better than it does for other people, like how impactful the elements were and how much they cared about the underlying messages and everything. But for the most part, yeah. On the surface, for the most part, yeah.
Now that's the segue. We enter the first topic of today, which is movie critique and reviews. And I feel like we will kind of address media literacy again because it's intertwined. That's why I'm like, let's speak about media literacy first so people understand what we mean. So they don't just watch it and say what the f they're talking about. Now they know. So reviews and critique. Um, I will let Cole start on that one. So, what would you consider as a consumer or as someone that does it yourself? What would you consider being a good critique or review? Like, what would be the right way to critique or review something?
Yeah, well, again, similar to what we talked about with media literacy, at least showing like that they have that's good. Showing that they've definitely like branched out. Like I, not really a huge fan of movie reviewers who just all they watch every year is like the big blockbuster releases or the superhero films. Like that's fine and all if you want to just mostly watch that stuff, but it just kind of shows that you're understanding of certain things or yeah just how much you branched out is limited. So I don't know like how much you understand certain things or and also when it comes to then the films you do watch like how they kind of overpraise them because they can't compare it to a lot of the other like art house or indie or foreign stuff or just non-blockbuster stuff they've seen and to compare it to like for example everybody thinks Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, well not everybody, a certain amount of people think it's like a masterpiece or something that it just came out and because they're like and also even use Joker 2019 as example like all these messages and everything and all these Easter eggs like oh was it all in his mind and everything and I'm just like I mean sure, but if you've actually branched out and watched like thousands of films or at least hundreds of films like I have, it really isn't anything that special. It's been done to death in millions of films. Like all these things you're praising about it, like isn't anything special. It's in every film, and I've seen it with those topics and with mental health and everything that Joker does and that Kingdom of the Planet Apes does like 1,000 times better. So a good also showing that they at least branch out and don't have like anger towards just like certain genres or like styles of films. Like at least giving everything a chance. Like it's fine if you aren't like as into like silent films or black and white films or like artsy films. Like everybody has a preference, but at least like giving it a chance and like understanding why people like it is good too. Or animated films and other things. And yeah, also just I think another thing that I like about certain reviewers, I like how not the ones who like honestly play it very safe and basic, where it's basically like a movie synopsis and they're just cowards and just don't want any like to have any opinion that could potentially be polarizing. But at least like when they're saying it or like writing reviews whatnot online, to at least like write it or say it like if you're putting the when you're like as if you're in the audience shoes who are listening to you where it's like instead of like if there's a film that you hate it's just being like oh this was absolute garbage I'm never watching this again and then the person just watching it's like okay now I don't know what to get out of it but at least trying to be like putting yourself in their shoes and making it enjoyable and at least giving something to each person, being like, yeah, I thought this was bad, but if you are into this or you like these aspects or just want to see for this alone, then go and watch it. Or the fans of this might like it though, so give it a chance. There's at least having that understanding instead of just being like, this is fucking shit.
I didn't like it because it's stupid. How is it stupid? I don't know.
Yeah, so at least
why do you think it's stupid if you don't know why?
Yeah, at least coming across that way, I also appreciate. And yeah, just that's about it for like my main things that I would like to see in like good movie critics that I respect and everything. Just having the literacy, branching out, and at least putting yourselves in like the readers or watchers shoes, like which is still something I struggle with at times, especially when I'm trying to be funny and I'm still working on it. That one is tough, but yeah, if you can if you're able to do that though, then yeah, that's really good. But yeah, and just again, literacy also just in not just like understanding the movie way, but also like just knowing different words. Like I'm not trying to be like some fucking Harvard graduate or be like pretentious bitch. Like you need to use all these big smart words, but no. But at least like branching out enough in like English, in the English language, and also just culture where you can at least use more words instead of like the same 5 words for everything. Like, oh, this is bad, this is good, this is stupid, this is smart. Like, and actually like knowing different words at least, and also using different examples. Like, because God, it's like there's just some people who it feels like they've only like in the last 6 years watched or played like 10 video games or like 10 movies total. So anytime like they're trying to use a comparison for something in a new film they're like trying to review on YouTube, they use the same exact comparison. Like this guy is like Sub-Zero, or this guy is like Scorpion. I'm just like it's like, and then I just hear them saying it like 20 different times in different reviews, and I'm like, okay, you need to branch out a bit more. But yeah, anyway, that's all. I'm done now.
You're killing me, man. You just deleted me. No way. I like it.
Yeah.
So
actually, I do have one last thing. Yeah, saying stuff like and just like pauses and so, like words like that, just being like so anyway, yeah, like that shit. Oh, so yeah, I do it all the time. A lot of people do it all the time. I still do it all the time. But I'm just saying, so I'm not criticizing anybody who does that. I'm just saying, if you can also improve on that and not do that, or if you're making edited videos and edit out the times you just say and so all the time in other moments like that, then it also improves the quality of your content, and the people watching it and listening to it enjoy it a lot more. But anyway, that's all.
Now, before I pass the mic, I will ask you something. You kind of walked around it. You kind of answered it at some extent by playing around, but I didn't really ask that question, so I will ask it. Would you take seriously someone that does a critique or a review, call it the way you want? Would you take them seriously if their media literacy was bad?
No.
Why?
I mean, I think it speaks for itself, but yeah,
I'm wondering, like, maybe
I
should expand on that.
Well, if they want to like talk about things and they don't have the media literacy, that's fine. They can do so. It's a free world. It's their choice. And some people who are more casual might get some enjoyment out of that and listening to them. But for somebody who actually has media literacy, or or likes listening to a lot of like critics and everything with that, or trying to understand films, just because it gives us like there's no value to it, and especially ones with no media literacy, and also who clearly don't branch out to only see like a handful of films per year, or like probably like 100 films in their lifetime. Like it's just, it doesn't give me much value. That's all there is to it. And yeah,
So I thought that was Goon that was doing the Piriki or the bird shenanigans, but I think it was you, Cole. Anyway, thank you a lot, Cole. So I will pass the mic to Goon. I will ask you the same thing as I did with Cole, because I'm wondering what's your take on that. What do you think a critic or movie review, like, what do you value in this? What are you looking for when you watch a review or a critique? When you're doing it, what do you strive to listen to or to talk about?
Well, mostly when I'm watching or listening to somebody give a review or a critique of a movie, I'm mostly looking, because obviously it's going to be their opinion, and that's a lot of what these reviews and critiques are just basically everybody's opinion on it. So, and that in that way, it is subjective. So, I take what everybody says with a grain of salt, but at the same time, I do want the reviewer or the critiquer to be somewhat truthful with what they're saying. A lot of people, especially now on YouTube, you have a lot of people who do movie reviews and critiques and literally just kiss ass on certain movies from certain studios so they can go to their press events every year and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that BS floating around. So it's hard to take a lot of, to be honest, it's hard to take a lot of reviewers and critiquers, especially on YouTube, especially, I think, serious. Not because they don't have media literacy, they might, but again, mostly because I see a lot of people just being disingenuous with their review or their opinion of a certain movie from a certain studio. Again, so they can get some sort of access to something so they could stream it or whatever bullshit they're trying to do. But
Sell
yeah,
out, basically.
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
I could give many examples.
Yeah,
Chris Tuckman, Jeremy Johnson, Andy
yeah,
Stignor.
Emergency awesome.
exactly. Like you can name a lot of these guys that do that. So and again, a lot of these guys I used to watch. I used to watch the Nostalgia Critic because I liked his kind of funny take when I was younger on
Well,
his
that's your
review of
first
movies.
mistake watching him.
Oh,
But
shut up down there. You and your fucking parakeet. Shut them both up. No, but yeah, that might have been a mistake. So what, Cole? You don't got to call me out for it. But
yeah,
anyways,
yeah, I said the same thing after
look,
streaming.
we all make mistakes in life, okay? We all do. So,
Yeah,
but again, I watched guys like that, and again, I thought they were funny, but I never took any. I don't take any review or critique, especially from a person whose like main job that is really to heart at all. If it's a movie I want to see, I'm going to see it. If it's something I don't want to see or I'm not interested, I'm not going to see it, no matter how good or how bad a review is, really. But a lot of people, especially today, don't have media literacy when it comes to reviews. Like Cole said, like you said, a lot of people just stumbling and rambling through. Oh, I didn't like the movie. Well, why not? Well, it was stupid. Cool. Thanks for explaining it. And then they just move on. Um, so, like I said, if there's something coming out that piques my interest or something I'm looking forward to, no matter if it could get 100 shitty reviews from everybody, and I might look at them, I might not, but if I do and see them, I'm still gonna go see the movie regardless. Because again, I'm gonna form my own opinion, no matter what. And even if a reviewer has the best media literacy and is so artsy fartsy that he knows every meaning of everything and knows why the director had a feather falling in this shot for 5 seconds in slow motion, it doesn't impress me enough to be like, okay, well, whatever they say, I'm just going to go by. I don't think anybody you should you should take reviewers and critiquers, like I said, with a grain of salt. You shouldn't base your opinion just on what somebody else says because they're on YouTube or because they do this all the time. Me, you, Austin, Cole, eh, everybody's going to have a different opinion on something here. We're not all going to agree on everything, and you shouldn't really. That's
Yeah.
why the phrase is you can't please everybody all the time, 'cause you can't.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Everything shouldn't be for everybody. There's stuff I
And
don't like, there's stuff you don't like, and that's okay. But again,
if I
go
can
ahead.
add to this, because I like what I'm hearing right now a lot. So like, this comes to my mind when someone base their opinion on a review they have seen. Isn't it biased or a mistake to do that? Because you don't watch it under your lens as an individual, you watch it under the reviewer lens.
I think it depends. There's definitely people out there who like do that and just like swap their opinion or just like but just like get their opinion from like other reviewers like that online, and it's really annoying. But I mean, for
Exactly.
me though, like there's many reviewers I watch, and I watch them, you know, and with my opinion after I watched the film in mind, to hear what they thought, to see if I like missed anything, or to like, you know, with either positives or messages or negatives I didn't notice, or and see, you know, if it still holds up, if my opinion changes, or you know, if the negatives they bring up aren't negatives to me, or if the positives they bring up are positives to me, stuff like that. And you know, and then sometimes, you know, there's the odd ones where it just I agree with it 100% and was my opinion. And sometimes when people like ask what my opinion is on, sometimes I'll just link them that because it's literally identical to mine. So I mean, it depends case by case, but there's definitely like some annoying people though who just don't do it like that. They just watch a review and basically glue their opinion to that and just like, yeah, that's mine.
Or sometimes I will justify, oh, but I have seen it, therefore no, I have seen the review, therefore I have seen the product. But again, you have seen the review from someone that sees the media under their own lens. So it's not even your opinion. Like,
Exactly.
if you haven't seen it and you base your opinion off someone else saying something, it's someone else's opinion. Even if you agree, how do you really know you agree since you haven't seen the media?
Exactly.
And
Exactly. You
again,
can't.
I I feel like right now I'm being a jerk. Uh Cole
Now it's
knows
fine.
why.
We're all jerks, all right.
But
But I will say though, like Bob, I completely agree with just everything you said there, though as well. It's yeah, really annoying, but it's gotten to the point though where it feels like there's so many people like trying to do movie stuff today where they have like no understanding of media literacy, where the most basic shit is impressive to them. It's like they'll just be like loads of Twitter threads, just like, this is why The Incredibles is such a masterpiece and so intellectual a thread, and breaking down every scene and being like, oh, look at this incredible thing about capitalism, so artistic, so powerful, so subtle. I'm just like, yeah, okay, yeah, it was a great scene. It was enjoyable. It definitely did its job there. Yeah, but I mean, this is in like every film. This is like in your face. It's not subtle at all. It's like pretty much impossible to miss. Like what is so impressive about like as it really got to the point where it's like you'll just watch mostly just a bunch of dog shit superhero films where that is impressive to you. It's like the people who would like analyze like 200 pages of Killers of the Flower Moon, even though that's like the most in your face surface level film with all the messages and shit that Scorsese has ever made. It's so confusing. But yeah, I mean the same, but also multi. Yeah, same thing with trailers as well. Like similar to like what you said about movie reviews, like trailers. It's like people watching it. It's like some people watch that and it's and they just start forming their opinion just out of that first, and just like that's complete. Like trailers are either good, bad. They hype the film up more than it actually is. They downgrade the film more than it actually is, or like, you
that's
know,
the point of it. You want to sell the movie. If it
yeah,
downgrades the movie, you did something wrong. I'm sorry, but
which I
you
think
did
the,
something
yeah,
wrong.
again, which I think the Fall Guys trailer did. It made it like look worse, and then I saw the film and I was like, no, this actually isn't too bad. The trailer made it like look like a shitty like Dwayne Johnson or Ryan Reynolds comedy blockbuster action film, but yeah, I mean, it's just trailers are edited differently all the time. Sometimes they make it look worse than it is, or better than it actually is, or good or bad, just whatever. But it's not a reflection on the film. You definitely didn't get the full thing from it. And if you and look, also if you're like upset that it like spoils some things or show certain things in the film that you didn't want to see, like I get that, but that isn't like a flaw on the film. That's just a flaw on the people who made the trailer. Like that's not a flaw on the film whatsoever. And also, if you have that issue, then just you can. There's an easy solution. All right, just don't watch any trailers. They spoil shit 95% of the time. I don't watch like any trailers anymore besides for the odd shit like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, like the blockbuster stuff, and if they're like playing in my theater. But even then I'll usually like close my eyes and like hold my ears down usually, unless it's like awkward, like if it's like a sold out theater with a bunch of people, but and I would look awkward. But yeah, like there's many ways to just avoid it. Just don't do it. Like it spoils majority of the films, like to just or show certain things you might rather see in the film. And then I usually sometimes watch it afterwards to see how they advertised it. Like, and I'm thankful for it because there are so many films where if I did see the trailer, then it wouldn't have been as impactful. It was better to go in completely blind. Like one example is the A24 film Lamb. If you saw the trailer for that, you basically watched the entire first half of the film and a big reveal of it. So it's better off that I didn't. So, but nonetheless, it's a fault with the trailer makers, not the films.
Yeah, and I'll also say something like I can't remember if it was Goon or Cole that mentioned that, but guys are like, oh, people see the flashy thing, they think they understand because they have seen the flashy thing. Like I paraphrase, I say it in another way, but um, I will bring that back. So I will bring a Fall Guy example. I keep
Yeah.
bringing
Oh,
back Fall Guy because now Cole has seen it, and I adore this movie. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but I adore it. So there's the sexy bacon. So it's the meat. It's what's flashy, what looks tasty, And some people see it and they're like, oh, that's the product, that's the movie, that's the theme, that's the idea, but they don't really taste it. They don't really see what's underneath it. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I just realized, Cole, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it's
Um,
fine. Just keep going though.
but you're right. So it's just a fascinating discussion. I Man, you're right, Cole.
Yeah,
You're
I mean,
right.
if Paul or Austin has anybody anything else they want to say about their opinions on movie reviewers and what
Yeah.
they want in them, then go ahead. Like, do you have any thoughts on it, Austin? Or
I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. I do think it's a balance. I think absolutely they're important. And I was talking about this the other night with someone. Look, there's got to be a standard, right? There's got to be people who study this and who know it in a sense, but yeah, better than other people. And just like with any other industry and any other field or anything like that, that's what we have critics for and stuff. And now you don't have to agree with them. That's the beauty of film. It's an industry where we have professionals and professional critics and things like that, but film is still subjective. And like Bob said, a critic's not going to stop me from seeing a movie. I'm not gonna lie. If something gets shit reviews and all that I was looking forward to, it may not be as much of a priority, to see. But yeah, I think they're definitely important. But also, we are living in a time too, like Cole said, where there is, I don't think a lot of like real understanding of film in the sense of that, like you read 5 minutes of a Wikipedia page or of something like that, and people call themselves film experts now or film critics, and so you have a lot of things like uh, you know just movies that are overhyped and movies that are that in reality are pretty just generic and well done, well made movies and stuff like that, but nothing really special or that. great. Like Top Gun Maverick, an absolute trash generic piece of crap. But
I liked it, but
Oh.
again, I could see why someone would hate it. That's
yeah.
the point of it, I think. Sorry I cut you off, man. Do you want to finish up on that?
No, that was pretty much it. That was pretty
Okay,
much it.
so I know I marked down that timestamp, but I will ask two things. First of all, I already asked it to Cole, but now I will ask it to Austin and Bob. Whoever wants to answer first can answer first. So the question is, can you take seriously someone that doesn't have good media literacy?
Can you what? What was the question?
Can you take seriously a reviewer or a critique out there, wherever the platform is? Can you take that person seriously if that person has bad media literacy and shows that that person doesn't understand what that person is saying?
I mean, I can take them. I mean, it's their opinion. I'm not gonna, I'll jokingly, give them shit for it and all that type of stuff. And but sure, I'm, next time you come to me and say, hey, this was the greatest movie ever made, or whatever, or blah blah blah, or this was great. I may have some questions, and I'll definitely want to see it for myself. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna bash. It's like I said earlier. I think we have to understand that there's a lot of general audience out there. There's a lot of people that will watch something like Spider-Man: Homecoming and not get that it's a movie about growing up or that it's a movie about other things. It's a very surface level film, and that, but they don't understand. They can't explain why they have these issues with it, and the only way to do that is by watching other movies. And
Yeah, like because I have the dyslexia. So yeah, like I guess over term, but is Mike might be disconnected. But anyway, another thing is because I had like dyslexia for a while and still sort of do, and other things. I understood what I was watching and like what I thought about them and with analyzing them, but it was difficult to actually put like the words out on paper or like say them out loud because in the past when I didn't have the best media literacy and because I was like dyslexic and stuff, so that's the other thing. It was easy for me to watch reviewers and then like that I agree with on the film and then just like copy what they say because in the past because I had that struggle because of it and because of my dyslexia. But watching more reviewers and getting more educated on that and branching out it more in film that made me it fixed all that basically, and I'm sure it would for anyone else who tries it.
Yeah, that's true. So, do you want to add more, Austin, or I pass the mic to Goon to answer that question I just asked Cole and you?
Yeah, you can pass the mic. I think I'm pretty much summed it up.
Okay, so Goon, can you take seriously someone that reviews something they didn't understand?
No. But again, though, like I said, I don't take too many reviewers, even the most respected ones. You could go all the way back old school and talk about Siskel and Ebert. Ebert, who these guys were regarded as the top movie critics and reviewers for the Chicago Tribune or Chicago Sun or whatever it was, and I believe it was whoever the fatty was, Roger Ebert.
Yeah, Ebert. Yeah, some of his takes were he hated stuff like
he had some shit takes.
Yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Full Metal Jacket. He hated. He loved stuff like Home Alone 3.
Oh my, that sounds terrible takes.
He also made a movie and it was complete garbage.
Hey, I actually didn't mind that at all. That film, it was kind of a satire on,
I don't know. I thought it was complete garbage. I
didn't like it as much as other people tried, like sucking it off and saying it's like a top 10 film of its year or anything, and perfectly encapsulate that. Like I didn't get that, but I thought it was all right.
No, so that's what I mean. You can't, even the most trusted, respected people, you just if you want to see something, see it. You know, again,
Yeah.
now I'm somebody like Cole was saying. Cole says
Yeah,
not to watch trailers. I'm the opposite. I watch trailers. I'll read spoilers. I don't give a shit because
yeah. I
when
mean,
it comes
it's
to the
just whatever
movie,
works for you, though. Like, if you're
yeah,
really concerned about that, though, then don't do it. But if you're like Bob, then sure. But also, the other thing I will say is like, yeah, well, that is the case, and no matter what, you should definitely, go in and watch it yourself and before those reasons and everything, and form your own opinion. Still,
exactly.
here's the thing though, like even then though, well, they made some questionable takes in the past, as everyone has, no matter what the reviewer was. Like things where today you're like, like if, for example, him even like loving the film Crash and everything and thinking it
Hmm.
perfectly executed it. Like you can at least though, like with the way they do it, and since they have good media literacy and you know form their opinion well to the reader or
Hey,
listener,
listen.
you can you
Crash
can
is a damn good film, all right?
oh god, okay, this is gonna lead into an argument. Okay, but anyway, because of that though, you can still like get a lot out of it, even if you completely disagree. Like what the fuck, he likes Home Alone 3. He gave it 2 thumbs up. You can at least still
He's an idiot.
understand his point of view and like why he does, and like with everything he says, like extremely well. Where you're like, okay, I totally get it. That was actually very interesting to read and listen to. I still disagree, but that's fine. Instead of just being like, this gives me nothing. This, I'm just like, what the fuck? How many films have you seen in your life? Like 30. So that's that other thing. It's fine to have disagreements with like reviewers you still trust and everything, as long they have good media literacy and everything else. You can still get anything out of like each thing they do, even if you strongly disagree, and at least see their point of view. Like I do that with YMS all the time. There's a lot of takes I agree with him on, and a lot of takes I disagree with him on, but I at least understand it, and he doesn't come off as like a dick. It's just his opinion. He doesn't, claim to just be objectively right or like this extreme movie critic and like the end all be all.
Mhm. Um, very nice. I like guys' answers. You each have your own flavor, and it really feels amazing. I enjoy that. It feels refreshing to have that kind of discussion. I didn't add that much fun talking about something since a long time, I will admit. So now,
Which
topic
one first?
number two. Well, it's actually because we got Austin and Goon for the first time. Um, I will ask Austin first. What do you think of the MCU in general up to that point in the universe, up to Guardian 2 and Homecoming? So at that point, we didn't add Ragnarok yet. Ragnarok is after. So we had Age of Ultron. What else? There's a blank there. I can't remember. Um, there was Civil War, there was Doctor Strange. So up to that point, Austin, what did you think of the MCU in general?
Um, I like a lot of stuff. I dislike a lot of stuff. For the most part, I think they started strong. I think the first Iron Man and I think first Thor are really good. Avengers, um, Avengers didn't age as great for me. Going back, it's really silly and really just bland in a lot of areas. In the humor and the literal tone of the movie, it's in my opinion, it's one of the like blandest looking superhero movies that they made. It was after that they started to add some style and flair and get different directors with different. James Gunn has his style and Scott Dickerson has his style, and so um but yeah, I mean, I think it was good for the most part. I mean, look, it's what propelled superhero cinema into where it is now, and I thought Avengers, like I said, was pretty good. Avengers: Age of Ultron was a little bit better actually when you watch it now. I think it takes itself a bit more seriously. It's still not like the greatest thing for me, I think for me, probably some of the best movies in them, where in the MCU, are the Guardians movies. Guardians 1 or 2. I think that's easily the best like
Two?
trilogy.
That's
But yeah, yeah,
surprising. I
yeah,
like your take already.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I
I think
can bet and swear that you will have valid argument. That I'm
yeah.
amazed.
I
I
got to
think
see. Yeah,
I think you're the first person I've heard liking Garden 2. So it's amazing we got you on, man. Man,
a lot of a
I'm
lot of
blessed.
people liked Guardians 2 at the time. I don't know what it was. That's the other thing too. I think living in Twitter in these days, we're living in this kind of revisionist history type thing, where movies that were perfectly fine, like I remember all my friends loved Guardians 2, a whole bunch of people love Guardians 2, and then now you talk about it, it's like it's shit. And I'm like, is it better than the first Guardians? No. No, but it's a good follow up, it's nothing, it doesn't taint the trilogy in any way, shape, or form. It progresses all the characters. I think what's great about the Guardians movies too is they work outside of the MCU. I can put the Guardians movies on for somebody who's never seen an MCU movie, and they'll get it. They don't need all the connection and all that type of stuff and all the other movies. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, the MCU was fine. It started to go, I think, a bit downhill. Um, Probably after Civil War for me. Stuff I like Infinity War. Um, but after that, it became a lot more on and off. But yeah, probably the ones I like most are Guardians. I think the first Doctor Strange is great.
We
Some of
are
the
the
other ones.
minority. I also adore this movie. And I think I have a hot take, but this is up to that point on that reviewing marathon, if we can call it that way. That's my second favorite MCU movie.
Wait, which
Doc-
one?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. Yeah, I
Yeah.
adore this movie.
I thought it was rock solid. I think this is why. Honestly, I don't get some of the hate that other people give it nowadays, and with certain reasons, like especially with the casting. But it was I didn't love it or anything, but it was a solid film from start to finish. It didn't do anything that like amazed me, but from start to finish, it was a film that was enjoyable, and there wasn't really like any flaw with it. And I think that's possibly why you really love it, because it was just like enjoyable and good from start to finish, no flaws.
Yeah, and I think the peak reason why I liked it so much is a reason people meme it around, and I will sound boring because I will bring back media literacy, but people meme around something they don't understand. People were laughing, including someone, that, oh, Doctor Strange comes to Dormammu and he says, I've got a bargain. And I'm like, okay, you tell this is stupid. Tell me why. Do you understand why Doctor Strange did that? Do you get it? And the person is like, no, I don't get it. So let me explain to you why Doctor Strange told Dormammu, I came to bargain. Because he knew for a fact that Dormammu was more powerful than him. Therefore, Doctor Strange used his brain. Brain over brawn. That's wonderful. That's amazing. That's being clever.
Yeah.
It's in character, and it shows that sometimes you cannot power through something. And Doctor Strange knew it. Dormammu is a monster. The only way to reason with him is to outsmart him. Simple. If you meme it and you don't understand it, I cannot take you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why.
Again, if you didn't like the scene or the execution of it all, or you just weren't into it, that's fine. But at least try to understand it. Again, like I just don't get people who are like they're given actual reasons and they're still just like. To me, though, no. It's like, look, if you weren't into it, it's fine. You can still just not be into it. I don't get how that's so hard.
So sorry I cut your view on your time, Austin. So I will let you keep going with your thoughts on the MCU up to Guardian Volume 2.
No, I think that pretty much was it too. I mean, like I said, I think Civil War was fine. Um, yeah, I mean, it did start to fall off a little bit for me. I do think, the Guardians movies and Doctor Strange, I would say too, and even Winter Soldier, like those were major players, I think, for the MCU in that, already after Avengers, there was already like a tone set already where people kind of like, all right, now what's the change up? And Guardians gave that edge, that kind of more leaned into. Um, I was talking to Bob about this. I think the Guardians movies are very much, in a sense, like Star Wars. They're movies for a generation. I mean, look what this last one did, almost $800 million and stuff. It's it hit people at a certain time. And like my generation, you were going from middle school of like watching Avengers in eighth grade, right? And then going into high school where everything was more adult and more, like you had to start to take yourself seriously and all this. And the Guardians movies came out, and that's very much what they was like high schoolers. The Guardians movies, they're like the characters, they're like high schoolers having to become adults and having to learn, lean on each other as new chosen family, and go through their pain and their trauma together. And it's silly, and it's edgy, and it's all these things. It felt like for the like audience was like Marvel was recognizing its audience and saying, like these are characters almost for you to grow with and stuff. And so I think and that's why those movies are so successful with my generation. I think is that we all kind of grew up with these characters and stuff. I mean, same with Doctor Strange. That was a much needed change in the MCU, and that leaning into the darker side, the mysticism, the demonic, and the supernatural, and all of this. And Civil War had that, or not Civil War, but Winter Soldier had again that kind of adult grit to it. They didn't hold back on a lot of the action and violence, and it was in your face. And there was conspiracies and themes of power and who controls who and all this type of stuff. And so I think those three were the most pivotal, I would say, of the MCU. And then after that things just started to kind of be okay. Guardians 2, like I said, I think is a good follow up. It's got great themes. It's a great story for Quill, a father son story, and that type of thing. And again, referring back to choosing your family and that type of stuff. And then the third one I think is an absolute masterpiece, but we're not there yet. So
Yeah, we are not there yet. So I guess that sum up what you think. So now I will pass the mic to Goon. What did you think of the MCU up to Guardian Volume 2? So anything prior Volume 2, what did you think of it?
All right, so I mean, we started out very hot with the first Iron Man, which I loved. RDJ was amazing. I thought his comeback movie got his career back on track. Showed that we could do comic book movies proper again, and take them seriously, and not super seriously, but seriously enough to where we're not getting Batman and Robin or Steel anymore. Um, Love the follow up, which was I'm pretty sure was the Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton.
Yeah,
Which not the greatest and most perfect movie by any means, but I thought it was still solid. I loved Edward Norton in that role. I really wish he would have been able to stay on throughout this Marvel Cinematic Universe. I really don't care for I can't even think of his name right now. Mark Ruffalo. Really don't care for him too much as Banner. But I did love Norton, and I love the Incredible Hulk
I agree
movie.
with that.
Um, we go right into we follow up with Iron Man 2, which for me left a lot to be desired, especially with Mickey Rourke's character Whiplash. I believe that was his name. I think that's the
yeah,
character he
Whiplash,
was.
yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, it left a lot to be desired with him. That movie just seemed more or less like a uh, let's hurry up and cash in on this while we still can before we break the bank, because we're right now at the cusp where we're getting our after credit scenes and starting to build this universe a little bit. Um, and then we go into Thor, which I did enjoy. I do enjoy the more serious Thor. So the first two, Thor and Thor: The Dark World, for me are pretty good movies for Thor. When we start getting goofy, silly, fat Thor, I really don't care for him too much there. So boo-hoo for him. After Thor, we get the first Avenger, but the fifth movie, which is Captain America, which I thought was all right because it's kind of a time period piece there. Um, eh, really wasn't. That was kind of a meh movie for me. Didn't really like make me think like they're losing steam, but at the same time, just I didn't really. It was all right. I was indifferent about it. Didn't care, but at the same time, didn't hate it. Um, Marvel's Avengers, we get into there. Finally, we get this big team up. It's awesome to see all these heroes on screen for the first time together. Um, I thought that was solid. That was awesome. Then we start getting into one of the disappointments for me here, which is Iron Man 3. Not. I don't think a good sequel by any means. The wheels start kind of falling off here because this is a who is this? This was written by Shane Black.
I have no idea, Cole. You know that kind of stuff, and that's why
Oh,
you're amazing.
Was this a Shane
Do you have
Black
an
written movie?
idea?
wait, for what film?
Iron Man 3.
Yeah, Shane Black
Okay.
directed it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So
So,
I think Iron Man 3 is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think-
Oh, that's
I do.
interesting.
I
So
do.
I think now I'm the crazy one because like you're the third one on the podcast here that defends Iron Man 3. So I'm like, wow, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe
Not
DC
as
is
bad
also
as
crazy.
not as bad as I thought it
Yeah.
would.
Oh,
Well,
this
just-
is actually
As
interesting.
everybody
Though.
says, I think
Interrupt you, but I just realized something.
it's good. I think it's better than 2. I'll tell you what. I'll take the biggest.
Oh, I
Here's the
agree
thing. Here's the thing. The biggest thing people hold against that movie is the fake out, which is understandable,
well,
right?
yes, because that's
Okay.
just stupid. Just
And the
absolutely.
humor was
dumb.
trash.
The humor was all right. It's the fake out. It's that you got one of our great actors to play one of Iron Man's great villains, and you made a joke out of it. And that's where it all started for the MCU. So yes, I get there's a lot of hate for it, but outside of that, it's his most personal story. There's a lot of character progression. That's the movie where he comes out and says, "I don't need the freaking armor anymore. I'll kick these guys' asses myself." Like there's
Yeah.
there's a
It
lot of
leans into
great
some
stuff
good themes
in
for
there.
sure, and it
And
has a there's some premises that really do work, but I don't know, just overall it's I don't know,
Yeah.
like
and
Yeah.
it
it
does
doesn't
that to
hit like like the first one or even the second one does for me. It just
he does that because he wants to hide his insecurities. That's the most deep and sad things at the same time. It's wow. Anyway, sorry I cut you off, Bob. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
agree with Austin. No, I mean, I'm not as high on it. I think it's solid overall. I
No,
wouldn't say it's like,
we're good, man. This is what we gotta do.
but
We gotta talk about all this. But
yeah,
then we got Thor: The Dark World, which I said I enjoyed. Again, not the greatest movie, but I enjoy a more serious Thor. I don't like the goofy Thor. Now we get to what at this point I think is to me anyways, is the best movie so far out of all the ones that have come out, which is Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Oh wait, what? You like that?
oh my, that's hilarious.
I liked Winter Soldier. That was a great movie. I would understand why someone would say, "Oh,
I
it's
mean,
the
say it's
best
a bit
one."
overrated though.
Yeah, like I'd say I thought Civil War was better and Doctor Strange as well, but I could see why Winter Soldier is one of the top picks.
Yeah. So I will just so I have to point this fucking thing out. I just realized this. So I was looking up Iron Man 3. All right, and yeah, it says Shane Black directed it and wrote it, but there was another writer on board though. Another writer who also did Iron Man 3, and I looked up his other work, and yeah, he actually wrote the Fall Guy.
Eh?
Yeah,
No.
and then Shane Black
How
also did Kiss Bang Bang. So
how was that freaking possible? There's a glitch. I
because it's a good film, it's very
Yeah.
enjoyable. Sorry.
What? No, I don't believe this shit. So as the outro by the end, if you're still there by the end, we got to talk a bit about Fall Guy because you were not there yesterday. But that's an outro, like at the very end. But um, yeah, Bob, you're back. So you had a glitch, I
I'm back.
assume.
Sorry.
No, that's not your fault. That's StreamYard or something. Anyway, keep going, bro.
Yes. So again, just in case nobody heard me, Winter Soldier, my favorite movie of the MCU so far. Then we get into which takes the place of that movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. That movie was amazing. I have always grown up a DC fan. Never really got too much into the Marvel comic side of things. Knew of all the characters, but never really invested too much time reading them. So I wasn't too familiar with Guardians like most people weren't. Went into the movie. I love them characters. For me, that first movie, like Austin said, that's a masterpiece. The second movie it's kind of a dud for me. Personally, I don't know. I think in hindsight it is because I've seen all three now. So that's what kind of makes the second one kind of a meh for me. But I digress. Anyway, we got that one. Age of Ultron. Okay. The like the veil's kind of wearing off at this point. Like I've already seen the Avengers now. It's cool to see him again. But me personally, I'm starting to lose interest at this point. We go into Ant-Man, which was very disappointing for me because I wanted to see Edgar Wright's Ant-Man, but we didn't get that. Somewhere in an alternate universe, I saw that movie. Um,
Unfortunate.
then we get oh boy, here we go. Then we get Captain America: Civil War. Now I think there's a lot of people that like this movie. I cannot stand this movie. I think this movie is written so cheeseballish. I can the worst part of the movie for me is the big battle at the end, in a brightly lit, horribly Disney colored fucking fight scene where everybody's literally just shooting quips back and forth at each other as they're supposed to be in a serious fight here. It's just absolutely ridiculous that anybody took any of that shit seriously. They didn't even like make me feel good by throwing Spider-Man in there in the last minute. I couldn't give two shits. Like his stuff was cool, but then they kept cutting to everything else, and then it just ruined that. Um, what do we got next there? Oh boy, Doctor Strange, Austin's favorite movie here.
Mine, my second actually.
Oh, your second favorite? Okay.
I thought it
I
was
thought
fine. It was
I
good.
thought it was fine. I thought it was an okay movie. I wasn't there wasn't anything like too super impressive for me. I liked some of the effects that they had with like the mirror dimension and stuff like that was cool. Um, but again, God, we're like how many movies deep now? We're like into phase 3. Um,
Yeah, well, actually, now we reached Garden Volume 2.
yeah.
So, yeah. Now, except if you'd like to add more about the prior movies and such, I think we will pass the mic to Cole to basically do the same because I will be right back and I already kind of know the answers, but that's still part of the discussion. But yeah, I will be right
Oh, they're
back
talking about
very
Guardians.
shortly.
Okay.
Your thoughts on the MCU, basically.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Overall, it's a kind of a mediocre universe. I'm sorry. There are some hits and there's a lot of misses. Even in the beginning, there was a lot of films that were just wasted potential, kind of meh. That people over the years have tried to say are actually great now, such as the first Thor and the first Captain America, just because of how they are in comparison to some of the newer trash today. But they're really not. They're just not as shit. But they definitely.
I do think the first
Yeah,
Thor is pretty good.
I know
Or,
you and like Bradley like it a lot, but I don't know.
Yeah, I like it too for an origin story for
Well,
Thor.
well, but not only that, it's the only one that for me balanced it correctly. You brought a god who takes himself seriously in Asgard to Earth, and what is people's reaction to that? And so it was a good balance of the humor there, which was realistic and true and all that. And then again, like Hemsworth was taking himself.
Yep, pretty much. But I just didn't like the execution of it. I thought it was poorly done and generic. But it had good moments. Yeah, I also hate Natalie Portman in that, and in a lot of films. But anyway,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
that's the thing, though. At some point, we get formulaic in these movies, right? We start,
yeah,
because none of these were really. I mean, when you consider the first Iron Man, they really didn't think that was going to be a hit. They didn't think it was going to blow up like it did, anyways.
hmm pretty much, yeah. And first Avenger film is good for what it is, and for its time. And then they had some other hits here and there. I still hate them for ruining Edgar Wright's Ant-Man film. Age of
Exactly.
Ultron was pretty mediocre, and then
Mhm.
some other hits, some other misses. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I would say like some of my favorite MCU films would have to be. Uh, it would probably be Guardians 1, uh, and probably Civil War. Actually, I know I agree with like some of your complaints about Civil War, Bob, and like that one fight scene when it's all lit up. But I think the rest of the film, though, outside of like that cheesy fight scene, which then later led to to an epic moment with Tony Stark and the three of them, and
Yes.
some other shitty humor. Outside of that, I thought it was really well done. It definitely has its flaws, but so does pretty much every MCU film. They all have its flaws. It's all just kind of, at best, like I've never thought one of their films was ever amazing. I just thought at best, great. A few of them, and I guess Guardians one would probably be my favorite. But yeah, not the best universe, but whatsoever. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan, but they have hits and misses. Lately, though, all just pretty much misses outside of Guardians 3, which I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah.
I feel you. I feel you 100%. But I disagree, but I feel you. I enjoyed that universe so far. Like, in my books, the four failures so far for me were actually five, because I do consider both amazing as being part of it because of No Way Home. I know No Way Home is later, but they are still part of that universe in my book. So the the five failures would be Amazing Spider-Man 2. Even if I like the shit out of it, that's a bad movie. I'm sorry. Um, the other failure for me would be The Incredible Hulk, 2008. That was godly awful. And just as a side note, um, that's DC favorite movie in the MCU. And he's like, that's peak.
Well, that makes sense.
I think it's for sure it's the best version of the Hulk we've gotten in the MCU.
Yes.
But it says that's the best movie. Not the best.
It's not the best movie, no, but my God, what I would give to have anything from that about that Hulk's character brought into the current MCU, that
Yeah.
would be great. But yeah.
Gotta
I
have
get
silly
that.
Hulk. Everybody's got to be silly.
Yeah, that's the MCU. So these are the first two failure. The third failure for me would be, what's the name? Iron Man 2. I enjoyed parts of it, but I thought that was the overall bad movie that I wasn't a big fan of, and that was the first time as I was rewatching. That was the actually no, that was the second time because all came at before. But I was like, oh, that's bad. Why did I put myself through that pain again? Um, and I thought the same about the third one, but the catch with the third one is I think they are similar in terms of quality, but I enjoyed it slightly more in terms of characterization for Tony Stark because he deals with trauma, PTSD, and these aspects are actually really good. And it makes sense that he does stupid shit because sometimes when you're under pressure, when someone broke you apart the way he got destroyed in Avengers, it actually makes sense that you do stupid shit. Um, so Iron Man 3 was sadly a bad movie, but I liked the fact that it was there to give Tony a moment to shine. One of the best Avenger we got up to that point. Um, Now, the last failure for me up to that point, this stream here, would be Age of Ultron. I hated this movie with a passion, and that was painful. And it's funny, I didn't bring this up in my review because I forgot. I wasn't in the right mind when we did it because it was like right after a lot of drama behind the scene. But there was a scene in Age of Ultron where all of the Avengers are lined up to do cool pause and they jump, and it's like early in the movie in the big action piece, and they're like, "Oh, that's like a cool snapshot, you know? It's like a cool moment, right?" And I bring this up. It's not necessarily an issue, but the same people that criticize Endgame for doing the same thing with female character or more character per se are praising that shot. It's like, what the something broke inside of people. I don't get it. Why? Why? Um so I don't understand people. How can you enjoy that scene with the Avenger jumping on the snow, but then you go to 8 Endgame? It's the same shit with different character.
Yes.
I'm wondering if the brain cell are rubbing each other off. Like, I'm wondering if there's a connection there. But again, I didn't mention it in my review because I didn't really add issues. I bring this up because of the stupidity people tend to have when moments like that happen. Anyway, um, these are the failures. And Amazing Spider-Man 2. I love that movie, but I know it's bad, and I wish it was better. I wish I could defend it. I wish I could be like the one Amazing Spider-Man defender, but I'm not. I, you know, the guilty pleasure term. It's me with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's like too much crime into one movie.
I'm
But-
right there. I'm right there with you on it. On that.
I
However, I
like.
don't think it's the worst Spider-Man movie.
Oh, interesting. I'm actually excited for future Spider-Man talk now. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think Homecoming
You're lagging,
Come-
Austin.
is the worst Spider-Man
Robo Austin.
movie.
Oh, I think you're back now. You said War Spider-Man, but that's all I heard. So maybe, yeah. Okay. So okay. Now we kind of did a recap. My favorite, my top two, because they are very similar in how I value them, would be the first Iron Man and Doctor Strange. They are, I I would give Iron Man a small edge because I just think vigilantes and tech people, they are just cooler than having powers. I'm a big Batman fan, you know. It's just cool. It's my jam, you know. And I praise Tony when he beats the crap out of powered people with his high tech suit. It's just that's why he is above, you know. But yeah. Now, uh, are we back, Austin? Are you back, Austin? Are you back?
Are you alive, Austin?
Maybe it's the car. Maybe he's driving too fast. If he's still on the road. So I guess now, um, there's still echo, so that's weird. Um, we will truly dive deep into Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 2. And because I had a mic, I will be the first one to talk about it. So I've seen it for a third time, like 2 weeks ago. Um, because I take a lot of advance on the topics. And the regrets. I ate this movie with a passion. That one is actually worse than anything that came before. And based on my experience with the MCU, the next movie that will make me feel this way will be Wakanda Forever. And this one, I won't put people through the pain on rewatching it. We will still address it. We will still talk about it. But Cole and I already spoke about Wakanda Forever. And now I see Bob having his mic on. What did you think of Wakanda Forever?
Oh God. I wanted to shoot myself by the end of it.
Oh my.
Really, within the first 10 minutes of it, it was so like just egregious and just like, and you're like, I get the guy died, but like, oh my God,
What
like
movie?
it was just
Wakanda
Wakanda
Forever.
Forever.
Oh, yeah.
Wakanda Forever!
Yeah, they just had to throw Chadwick Boseman's death like just right in my face. Um, Shiri, just a terrible, terrible character overall. She is just written so bland, and I don't know if it's maybe the actress or the way she delivers her lines, but man, when she just talks, I just don't want to hear any of it at all, like at all, and it just it kills me, that movie absolutely kills me.
And I will give some inside stuff, like because guys were not really around at that time. So when Cole and I did a review of it, um I cried because that was the first time since we started the podcast that I truly hated with a passion the movie. And the way I grade movies is on my first issue, usually most of the time, because there's a few exceptions, but most of the time, my first issue dropped the movie to a 9.7. Now, there's some cases I will give a 9.8, like Civil War, or 9.9, like Arrival from Denis Villeneuve. But these are really niche and rare cases. Like most of the time, when I get the first issue, it's a 9.7, and the second issue, it drops to a 9.5. And the first exception that came in for me was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I gave a 9.6. That was the first time ever. Um, the third issue dropped the movie to a 9 for me. And the first exception to that rule was The Fall Guy. I gave a 9.2. But after I dropped to 9, each issue knock off 0.5. And most of the time, I don't give back points. There are some cases where I do give back points when I feel like I'm too harsh, or when I feel like there are genuine good things about it, but there's just so much bad. And the best example that comes to my mind would be Blue Beetle. Like, by following my grid, that movie was a 2 or a 3, and I still thought that was not that bad, so I gave back some points. But to give context, Wakanda Forever was the first time ever with my grid I went in the negative. I went negative 4.5. So when we did our review, I had issues for at least 40 minutes of me crying, ranting, screaming at...
For the record, a negative 4.5 is being generous for that film.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to sound like these anti-SJW channel because I think they are stupid. I will give back some points because maybe I'm too harsh on the movie. Maybe I'm too like square and fair with everything. So I gave back points with the few likes I had. Then after giving back points, and I tried really hard to stand by this movie. Like, I tried my best. I swear, I tried to defend this movie. it became a 2.5. And that's one of the lowest thing ever until we progressed and we met Ghostbuster 2016, Fast X, bunch of trash Halloween movies, but Wakanda Forever is down there among some of the worst shit I've seen. But now that's a big rant, and it's I divert, I go on a tangent, but that's like all of that is to say that Guardian Volume 2 for me is not that bad by any means, but it was bad. It was painful. And I will just say that a year ago, well, actually 11 months ago, that was June last year, Cole and I, we had the podcast here, and we had the Jaded Fanboy for the first time on the channel back then. I knew the guy from MSK channel, and Jaded the Fanboy, amazing guy. I want him back when he can. I forgot to give him the damn link. I should have given him the link, but it's a bit late, but I will still try. Maybe he will show up. Jaded, if you're there in the chat, or if you bump into our stream, come. Anyway, he came in, and we talked about the trilogy of the Guardian of the Galaxy. And I took some notes because I wanted to roast the shit out of Volume 2 with passion, you know? And I did. And on this most recent watch, I knew how bad this was. And I was like, except if this movie surprises me, I will just refer to the stream I did with Jaded and the others. I didn't take any notes, but I still remembered a lot of the issues I had a year ago, and they are still here. The humor was the worst thing about Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 2. I hated the humor, and it was constant. Like, they tried so hard with everyone in the cast to make so many jokes, and I didn't laugh. Are you trying to be like a comedy show, but you just suck at writing comedy stuff, so this is the end result? I'm really wondering. That was like Ed bashing pain. And there was another moment I found really stupid in the movie. So we had Yondu with his fin. They were breaking out of the ship, and there's a bunch of people with guns. But no, because Yondu is cool and Yondu needs to take them all down, they just line up to get, like, erased to be YouTube friendly. They just all dive by the fin without even trying to, like, attack Yondu and the other guy that was with Yondu. It's just like, oh yeah, plot armor 2000, stupid, just don't think, just enjoy the show, just watch Yondu making a joke out of these trash bag. I don't know, that moment felt so stupid. And I'm the kind of people that will nitpick when people cannot aim, and that pisses me off. But that sequence was just, you want suspension of disbelief too hard for me. You took it too far. What else? I think, if I remember correctly, I thought Ego was probably one of the first few villains that were bad outside of the one in Tortu. The one in Tortu was really bad. I can't even remember what was the motive of the guy. All I remember is, like, Loki siding with Thor and that being cool. But yeah, Ego I didn't think was really good. And again, I didn't take notes on that most recent view. I just wanted to see, okay, do my opinion most likely change? Was I too harsh on the movie? And I don't think I was too harsh. Anyway, that's enough for my talk about Guardian Volume 2. So I will let the defenders defend it, because I think I'm one of the only one.
Yeah,
that
well,
hated
I'll just go next because I'll be quick on it because I've already said my thoughts many times before on it and in previous reviews. Again, definitely some of the humor was stupid. Some of the things they did with the characters, and especially even though I'm not as big of a fan of comic books and I don't read them as often, still what they did from that into this was yeah, I wasn't a fan of it. Same thing with like Guardians.
Did we lose his audio, or is it me?
Oh,
It's you.
Okay,
oh
there we go.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
But anyway, but yeah, and also same thing like with Guardians to an extent. Even though I think that's a great film, there are things in it that I wish they did in the second film instead. And there's also just changes that from the first film to the second film that I didn't like, especially with sorry, I forgot his yeah, right, Groot. I didn't like the change with him at all. I just wish they kept in the same as the first for the second and third. But anyway, and but so I understand that there are dumb
Is
character
somebody
moments
talking?
and in the story.
Yeah, Cole is talking.
Oh wow, I can't hear him at all. That's weird. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, that's weird. Okay, but anyway, there were yeah, so I agree, many dumb character moments and in the story and everything, sure, and humor, sure, wasn't the best in this one. But as a film itself, though, just like cinematography, like visual storytelling, filmmaking, certain messages still, certain like emotions still, and music, editing, just acting, everything like that, and visual effects and just everything. It still knocks it out of the park in those areas for the most part for me. Where I don't hate it by any means. I think it's so not the best film either, though. I think it's all right. Definitely the weakest of the three, but I don't hate it for that reason. Anyway, so Austin and Bob can go now. That's pretty much my whole thoughts on it.
So, Austin, because you're the one that experienced the most the issues, I will let you go second on Guardian Villain to a dive deep into why I believe you were one of the two defenders, right?
Yes, yeah, no, I look, is it as great as the first Guardians? No, I don't think so, but I mean, it does everything that a sequel, in my opinion, should do. It's a worthy sequel. I think I can agree with you. Some of the execution, some of the, it does everything bigger, right? The action's bigger, the jokes are bigger, everything is bigger, right? It's the bigger sequel, which is the typical theme of a sequel. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I can understand that the humor at times is hit and miss, and that's a usual thing with James Gunn. He has a very specific type of humor, and people are either you like it or you don't, and that's totally fine. I can understand that. That's a legitimate critique. As far as the other stuff, though, I do think Ego was definitely a worthy and interesting villain. I mean, you have somebody that you're going into that family drama type thing, the father and son, and you have a great character in Star Lord of the kid who was abandoned, who is, how do I deal with, it's my dad, the one thing that I've kind of wanted my whole life and that type of thing, but my dad's a maniac and crazy and
I want to delete people.
Exactly. And so for the Guardians, I think for each of them it's a good progression forward. I can also understand too, I think a kind of disappointment for people was Drax.
Oh my, Drax.
And I understand that. I think they leaned into his kind of silliness a bit too much. Now that's where I do understand that. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, again, I don't think it's the greatest sequel, but it definitely does no harm to the franchise. It moves the characters forward. It's entertaining and fun. The stuff with Yondu and Star Lord is great. The stuff with Rocket is pretty good too, and they're like, it's got its good moments. I enjoy it for what it is, but for sure it's the weakest of the three Guardians movies.
And yeah, that's interesting. And Dame, I just realized I'm looking into my letterbox right now. And I realize I forgot to mention how bad Dark World was. That movie is so forgettable. I even forgot it was on
Yeah,
list.
I keep forgetting that film exists. Sort of like
The
Eternals.
movie everyone forgets.
Like, do you even remember Eternals? I don't.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
I'm
have
looking
fun
forward
with
to roast the shit out of it.
that. Have fun. Holy shit.
We will cover it. Don't you worry about that. I don't
Fuck.
know if it will be season 6 or 7. It depends on the planning if we can get Dre and Alex back. Because I got a thing mapped out if Alex and Dre are coming back.
Nah.
And
Well,
I got.
I mean, all I'll say is it's like a bad, boring fucking stage play of something, of like a period drama. That's what it feels like. Like one of those shitty like field trips in school you went to like a play, and it was the most boring piece of shit you ever seen about some period piece. That's like what Eternals is. And it's trying to say like all these messages and about life and everything, but it does it in like the worst way possible. And there's no
It's the
style
Zack
to it.
Snyder movie of the MCU.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hell
Actually,
yeah. We like that.
Because he's the blueprint.
Yeah, it really is the Zack Snyder's Justice League of the MCU. Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a joke. That was literally. I literally feel like Marvel looking like was like, hey, maybe there is something to this BVS crap and all this stuff, and tried that with Eternal.
No! It's a sin! Don't do that.
That's exactly what that feels like.
My anyway, Austin, do you want to add more to Guardian Volume 2?
No, I think like I said, I mean, I don't think it's the greatest thing. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's good. I enjoy it for what it is. But yeah, I think that's the main thing. It's still like even if it's the lowest of the trilogy, I think it's still pretty strong. You know, it's kind of like how I feel about Rise of the Planet of the Apes and the Planet of the Apes movies. You know, it's the lowest of the trilogy, but it's still pretty strong.
That's interesting. That's interesting. That was my favorite, but I like your point of view, man. That's amazing. I like it when people disagree with me. It's like music to my ears because I'm like, okay, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, and I do a lot of derision. I, I I don't know the exact word in English, to be honest. It's like when you laugh at yourself. Is there a word?
Oh,
Like,
laughing at yourself.
when you poke fun at yourself in your takes, is there a word for it?
Like self-deprecation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like the most exciting thing to do. So Bob, I will let you go second on Guardian Volume 2
Oh,
because I think that was
nice.
your favorite, right? What was that you?
No, the second Guardians for me was kind of a meh type of a film. I think like I said earlier, having seen all three now, it definitely is, like, I agree with Austin. It is the weakest of the trilogy. Although by no means is it a bad movie by any means. It has a lot of heart to it, like all of them do. Um, some of the humor really didn't land with me. I did enjoy certain aspects of Kurt Russell, Ego, and Star Lord's relationship. I thought that stuff was really done well for the most part. Um, but overall, it was I don't know. It was just one of the movies in this vast lineup of films already that I don't know if, like, maybe fatigue was setting in for me, but I was just kind of at a point where I enjoyed it, but I don't know. I think maybe my expectations from the first one might have been so high because that movie kind of blew me away in the sense that, I was unfamiliar with the characters and, you know, didn't know too much about them and got introduced to them in a very cool and mind-blowing way. But the second one just kind of, I don't know, just kind of dudded out for me and kind of fell a little flat. And again, that doesn't mean it's a bad movie by any means. Like I said, this is just how I felt about it after watching what number movie was this, like 12, 15, 14, 13, whatever movie in the phase 3 beginning that we were in here. But Yeah, it's overall it's a decent film. I don't know. Some parts of it for me are just I hate saying it, but kind of boring.
I think I think you're right. That's like 15, around 15. Even if you count like the Remy Spider-Man and the Amazing One.
Yeah,
Um,
we're so many movies deep at this point, and again, those are characters that I loved after being introduced to them. It's just seeing what we got at the beginning and seeing what we got at the end. For me, then the second movie could be there or not. It doesn't matter for me. We got two masterpieces bookending that middle one.
yeah. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, the third one, but I enjoyed it more than the second one for sure. Um, my computer does weird thing right now, so I suggest we move on with Homecoming. Oh,
Oh
actually,
yeah.
no, something very important before we move on to Homecoming. The grade out of 10 that everyone asked
Right.
for
Yeah.
Volume 2.
I would just give this like a 5.5.
What about you, Austin? Out of 10.
I'll give it a solid 6.5. Still good at 6.5.
Interesting. I will sound crazy. What about you? Sorry,
I'm
there's a glitch on my brain.
Yeah, I can
I'm
see.
gonna give it a 5. I think it's a halfway
Yeah.
decent flick. It's a 5.
I'll be honest, though, you should just keep it like that because that's probably your reaction while watching Guardians Volume 2.
um, so I will try to connect from
Yeah, just
another.
turn off your cam and see and if it'll work.
It's probably StreamYard. StreamYard's being weird.
Oh, yeah, now just remove the extra multi.
Oh
It's
well.
actually my computer. I think I asked too much of it. But I will come back shortly. My grade was a glitch on the bottom there with async and multi. Um, 3 out of 10.
Damn.
So, oh my, I think my. So, okay. That's weird.
I mean, we could always just continue like this. You can kick like the other one in StreamYard.
Um, I will try. Oh, dang.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, you're muted.
So, okay, I guess we will continue like this from my mobile as my computer recovers this shit. I ate that. I don't know why. Maybe it's StreamYard because that's the only tab that doesn't react. Um,
Yeah,
so
probably.
Homecoming. Oh, wait. Is it coming back?
Oh, God. It's like I'm in the fucking Matrix.
It's actually coming back. Um, do you guys
But
hear me
anyways,
well?
yeah, we can hear you. But okay, Homecoming. How about while you get it fixed, like one of us can talk about Homecoming?
Yeah. Someone can
Yeah.
start.
Okay, so any of you want to start?
Ooh. Um. I mean, I'll go first here, just because I know some of you don't enjoy the movie, but I didn't mind Homecoming after 5 Spider-Man movies and 2 different Spider-Man actors. I thought it was refreshing. I actually enjoyed having a kid who looked like he was actually really for real in high school instead of like 30-year-olds pretending to be. That was really nice. I thought Tom Holland was pretty good. I thought he actually encompassed a lot of what I see as Peter Parker. I think he had the nerdiness down, whereas uh, the issues I had like with the Amazing Spider-Man was like that Peter Parker was way too cool to be Peter Parker, like way too cool. Garfield's Spider-Man was just way too cool of a dude. Maguire's was good, but
You're
I don't know.
just
I
jelly
really
because
liked
he
Tom
was hot.
Holland. Well, yeah, that didn't help his cause either. But I don't know. I really like Tom Holland. I enjoy anything that
You're just
has.
upset it was the first Spider-Man that you wanted to fuck.
Well, I mean, listen, maybe. I mean, are you saying that just because he looks like a child?
Oh, that's disgusting.
Wow.
Why?
Andrew Garfield looks like a child to you? This is a
Okay.
overgrown
I don't get
child.
that.
Oh, my bad. I thought we were talking about Tom Holland.
Yo,
Sorry.
you
Oh
dumb
my
fuck.
God.
What would we talk
Oh,
about
man.
him? He looks like a shrimp, right? Andrew Garfield is fucking hot as shit. Come on now.
Well,
Oh,
sure,
Cole,
yeah, but
easy,
that's not supposed to be Peter
easy.
Parker. It's supposed to be hot. Like that's the last thing he should be is like a good-looking dude, really.
Well, I mean, look, just from experience, I mean, I agree, but like in school, honestly, a lot of people who looked like that still got bullied all the time. And like they really didn't care about that. It's just social skills, which he definitely still did in the Amazing Spider-Man films, like making himself seem awkward and everything. Like that's the only thing that matters.
I
I
mean, I
tell you,
guess,
Andrew
but-
Garfield can put his webs in my sling anytime.
Oh god,
Oh my.
shoot his webs all
What
over
is
you.
going on? It's like a Joker stream.
Yeah,
But I
well, hey,
like it.
I mean, listen, only
like
one of
it.
their webs
That's
is
fine.
organic, you know. So don't you want to?
That's
Give me that that superficial Andrew
not for
Homemade.
children.
No, but I don't know. I dug it, man. I thought Homecoming was cool. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Keaton in it. That was nice.
the key.
It's always good when he's involved.
I like that.
I don't know. Is it the greatest film? No. Is it like the best Spider-Man movie? Probably not. Um, but I think it has somewhat of a little bit of a charm to it. I don't like some of the things like the switching up of MJ and not really having an MJ. But other than that, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed Tom Holland. That was like he was the best part of it because he was the best part of Civil War for me when he did talk because his quips actually made sense because that was like him. But then I don't know. I found it okay. I thought it was a good movie. Now let's hear the other decisive opinion.
I'm wondering, Austin, since you brought this up, which MCU man is the most attractive to you?
Oh fuck!
Oh,
What MCU guys the most attractive? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh god! Please don't say like. Please don't be one of those people that says Paul Rudd.
Oh no, not at all. No. Hey, you know what? Aaron Taylor Johnson was pretty nice as Quicksilver in that tight suit.
Oh,
And he died in the first movie he came in.
It was just tight enough to make out of the curves.
yeah, too bad he was groomed, by some 40-year-old, but whatever.
Yeah, true. But I'd say him. I mean, look, I don't like him, but Holland is good looking. Hey, you know what? Doctor Strange with that little goatee does a little something
Benedict
to me.
Cumberbatch. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. With that
Have
goatee.
you seen him? Have you seen him in The Power of the Dog?
I have not. No.
Oh, that will. Oh, you need to see that then.
Oh my.
That sounds.
But I will say,
thirst trap or
Andrew
something.
Andrew can shoot his webs in my mouth anytime. It's wide open for you. Andrew, if
He's
you're watching,
technically
I'm
in
here,
the
buddy.
MCU now. He's technically there. So with
yeah,
no way
he's
home.
there.
Andrew, if you're watching, I'm here for you. And yeah, let's work something out. Let's meet up.
This is golden. Do you mind if I
Oh,
clip that?
I hear Andrew's playing Jesus Christ in the new Martin Scorsese film. I'll play Judas just to kiss him. I will, and we're going, and we are going full ton. F that cheap shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
It's
so
an
then you'll
improvising-
tie him to the cross. Yeah.
Oh, there's gonna be some tying up, that's for sure. I don't know if it's gonna be him or me, but Jesus Christ, literally.
Oh, this will be some good clips. Yeah.
He can nail me to a cross, that's for sure.
Oh,
I'm dying right now.
I think I killed Multi.
yeah.
It's probably one of my favorite humoristic moments since a long time. I will bring Charles up because Charles from Willis Cridia is very funny, is amazing, is hilarious, but you just brought like funnier things.
Oh yeah.
It's
appreciate it.
just like I think it's the funniest moment we had on the podcast, to be honest.
Oh fuck,
I-
really?
I appreciate it, man. I enjoy making people laugh.
I'm
Yeah.
crying. It's so
And
funny
I
that I'm
enjoy
crying,
staring
man.
at Andrew Garfield's bulge in those tights. So it's a win-win for me. I get to talk about two things I love. Let me tell you something. When John Campia was like brought up Toby, he's like, "Look at that bulge." I was like, "F that old man bulge."
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
it
He's
over
like,
to Andrew and look at that ass. My God, Andrew, buddy.
yeah. I deleted my channel, that old channel I had, because I didn't need it anymore and I wasn't doing anything with it. But on it though, I just uploaded a clip of him saying, "Look at Toby Maguire's dick," and it got 50,000 views.
We need Joker on stream right now.
I remember.
Can
when
someone
he said
call
that.
Joker? Anyhow, to get back on track after that great moment, that will be clipped for sure. Austin, what did you think of Sexy Holland?
Well, listen, I thought Sexy Holland was way better in Civil. Look, my opinion, Homecoming is the worst Spider-Man movie for me personally. It mainly because it tries to do a few things like special, like, oh, we're not going to have an MJ, and oh, we're going to add RDJ and all these, but it just doesn't succeed in it for me. I think I agree with Bob in that the Spider-Man from Civil War just felt spot on. The quips, the kiddish, like he felt like he was in high school. And then I don't know what happened in Homecoming. It was almost like with Holland, it was like, okay, with this one, too much is bad. It's a bad thing. If he's around too much, he started to become a little bit annoying. I think he leaned more into the like nerdy annoying part, which for me is not necessarily the Peter Parker I'm used to or grew up with, but I understand like there's a lot of different Peter Parkers and a lot of different things they were pulling from. So I'm not as critical as that. That's more of a personal thing. I think the biggest issue for me too is just he just doesn't feel like Spider-Man. There is, and this isn't. It starts with this movie. There's a dependency for him all through movies, and I get that the storyline is for him to become independent. I just think it's so much so that it takes away from his own story and his own growth and progression in the MCU. And so for me, I wasn't interested in watching Iron Man Jr. It was like every single thing until that plane moment, where he's holding the plane up, which by the way, I've said this on multiple streams. I was rooting for that plane to crush that kid like a bug in the theater. I just liked that movie so much. I was in the theater. I was like, good, kill him, end it, just squash it. And so again, I don't know. He embraced the things about Peter Parker I disliked the most, I guess, which was the whiny and again just annoying. The whole movie reference thing that they've done throughout the whole Spider-Man MCU thing is like it annoys the living hell out of me. It's just, yeah, it just didn't hit for me, especially like the other And this is I agree with you, Multi. I think Spider-Man 2 is a badly written movie. I still think it's far closer to what Spider-Man is, and just far more entertaining. I think Homecoming's kind of generic. Keaton for me was a major letdown as Vulture. I wanted to he was probably the person I love most in that movie. But there wasn't much menacing to him. There wasn't just a very generic kind of villain and stuff. And so yeah, the movie's just kind of again bland to me, kind of like the first Avengers. It's just bland.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. I will sound crazier than usual, but cool. Or except if Austin, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
Did you traumatize Bob the Goon?
Oh no, trust me. There's been some shit
heard
that
worse.
traumatized him more. Yeah, he's.
Okay.
You want to
Okay.
mention the?
Okay, so we were
yeah.
wondering if we traumatized you, but that's a
I
good
already
thing you
read
came back.
Bob. I already read Bob my fan fiction for me and Andrew. I mean, it's
Oh my!
Trust me. All right, if you want to talk about traumatizing Bob, just mention him. What happened during the Oscars watch party at the end?
I heard about it. Oh my, that. Oh, you're right. I heard about that. Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay. That was it. Okay.
I have the
Okay.
audio reaction to it from Bob. If you want to see it later.
Yeah.
I'll just
I'm
say
curious.
I'll just say 2 words and leave it at this for the viewers. Bob and uncircumcised. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh fuck. Anyway, so for Homecoming for me, I'm kind of in the middle with it as well. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think it's solid overall. It's definitely one of the weaker films. So I would place it like on par with the Amazing Spider-Man 1 for me, which I think is just solid. But I don't think it's like as bad as like Far From Home or Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I think it's a step above like Spider-Man 3, which I think is average. But yeah, I appreciate like all the things they were attempting, and also like the homages to like all those like the Breakfast Club and films like that, coming of age films, and I like the style and everything they were going for with it, and I like how. I mean, I appreciate how they were trying to do a different version of it as an MCU version of Spider-Man, where and they still show some Spider-Man-y things in the beginning to a certain extent, although not much, and not throughout the rest of the franchise and films, where you realize, yeah, he hasn't really ever had his like actual Spider-Man moments like the other ones have. But still, I like how I appreciate how they were trying to do something different with that, and at least like having different character messages and like growth and lessons with it, and with also Tony Stark as well from the previous films. I get that. I appreciate all that and everything they were trying to do there, and it kind of worked for me. That some of the humor was good, some of the scenes were good, some of the acting was good, but it just didn't work for me overall. It felt generic at a lot of points. It felt lifeless and with no stakes, unfortunately, and a lot of it just didn't work for me with how they executed it all and everything else. And Keaton, though, was the best part of the film. I think he was great. His performance and everything, a great villain. He was one of the better MCU villains to me, but even then, though, he does have his issues, which is that, while I do appreciate he is just like a straight up villain and has a reason for being a villain, but he's also not like one of the a sympathetic villain that they all fucking are nowadays. They all have to be fucking sympathetic for whatever reason. They didn't do enough for me where it actually made like a lot of the scenes like tense or make me care as much. Still, it was more so like watching I don't know, it was like the equivalent of like watching fucking Ted Bundy interviews. Like that's the best way to describe it. It's like, yeah, kind of interesting in how how psychotic he is like that, and also the charm and everything, how he's just a straight up villain, but it's like you're not really intimidating me from just doing that or just showing me that. And that's like what it felt like throughout the film with what they were doing with him. It's like I didn't really care as much, and I also didn't like this. Definitely didn't like. Sorry, what's her name again? The character name, Aunt May or whatever. I didn't like her in this film. I liked the actress. I didn't like the character in this and in the other films. Just eh. And then yeah, I didn't like the supporting characters too much either. It's is. But I didn't hate this film at all. It was perfectly fine. It had some enjoyable moments, but yeah, it just wasn't executed as well. Yeah.
I I will sound crazy. Do you want to add more, Cole, before I go
No,
on?
I'm good.
I adore this movie. So we already covered back in January the Raimi trilogy and the two amazing one back in March, I believe, just somewhere
Yeah.
like that. Um, it's my favorite Spider-Man movie so far. Right above the second Spider-Man and the
Really?
Amazing Spider-Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Um,
look, I no judgment. I'm very interested to hear this take because I know
Yeah.
for a lot of people it was at the time. I remember when it came out, and a lot of my friends, a lot of people were like, "It's the best Spider-Man movie." And
Yeah,
I'm
I
very
can
interested.
totally, yeah, I can totally get that honestly. So yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts because I totally get it. And with what it was doing, it just wasn't as impactful for me. But
yeah.
also, there was one last thing I forgot to mention. The camera work and directing and everything felt too amateur and too close up at a lot of points, sort of like Matt Reeves's. Which I think, by the way, was actually an improvement in No Way Home, which is why I said, like, yeah, the story and writing and all that when we get to it, absolute garbage. I agree,
Uh-huh.
but the filmmaking aspects and acting and everything else, I thought was a huge step up from the other MCU Spider-Man films, which is why I don't hate it. But anyway, I'm sorry. Continue now, though.
But I gotta say that before I keep going with this specific movie is it's funny because uh it was my second time ever watching uh Homecoming. The last time I did watch Homecoming was when Endgame was coming out. So I did a MCU marathon. At that point, I only had seen like maybe five of the 15, 16-ish movie the universe had. So I did the marathon. I've seen them all, and it was my first time watching Homecoming like 2 years after the movie came out and such. And at that point, I did have seen the Amazing Spider-Man and the Raimi ones. Like the Raimi ones were my childhood movies. Like the I got so much nostalgia. Like I can't remember if that was the first one or the second one, but one of the first few Raimi were one of the first few movies I ever owned. Like I got it as a gift as a child. I was like, wow, a VHS. These things did exist at some point, guys. Um, I remember these days. You just slide the cartridge into the lector. That was fabulous. Anyway, so this time around on this most recent watch, that was really my second time watching it, and I liked it a lot. So usually when I do full on review, because now I do have notes because that one I just chilled. I liked it. I have really detailed notes. So my first issue with this movie would be plot convenience. Peter seeing the lights in the sky as he is chilling at the party. So if he was inside when they were testing weapons and doing all sorts of things, he would have never have seen or heard about these gang. He would have never went after them, and he would never have been like on their track, if we can call it that way. Like it's out of pure luck and contrivance. Isn't a word? Did I create the word? I guess I did.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually a word or not, but I know what you mean by it.
So the story felt very contrived. It doesn't feel right that he's just chilling out there and boom he sees these lights in the sky, so he goes to investigate. Like it makes sense that he would go to investigate, but it's just the right moment, the right time, the right thing, and oh boom, the plot starts. I don't like it. I just think it's convenient. Um, and now my second issue would be another plot convenience. Plot convenience arriving at the same time as the truck to leave the building. So that was like in the 1 hour mark or so. Like he slept inside the building and just like, oh, he wants to leave. Oh, there's a truck that just happens to go at the right place, right road for him to take it and go back in Washington. It's like so contrived for him to go back to Washington or DC or whatever he goes after. Can't remember. Um, Again, it feels like, oh, we need to find a way to put him back in the story. It's like, no, no, don't do that. Don't, no. Anyway, these are my two issues with this movie. Outside of that, I had a blast. So here's my full analysis. Um, Give a 15 years old superpowers and tell him he can become an Avenger. He will actually think being an Avenger is a future job. This is the story of Homecoming. And again, guys mentioned it, and I will mention it again because yesterday that was a point of contention. In this movie, being an Avenger doesn't mean being a superhero, it means being a grown up, being an adult. And it's funny how Peter throughout this movie was like, oh, but I will be an Avenger because that's a job. Only a kid would think this way, you know? Only a kid would just throw up like their future because they think that flashy thing that looks fun and cool is the right path for them. Because when you're an adult or when you have maturity, you realize there are other things that matter, and that may sound selfish, but you matter. It's your life. It's in your hands. Selfless acts are really cool, and being a hero is really cool, but you need to have a life for yourself if you want happiness. Anyway, Peter's character arc is all about accepting to be a teenager instead of trying to become an adult too fast, taking the shape and form of being an Avenger. An Avenger is an allegory to be an adult. A friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is an allegory to be a kid, a teenager. And this intertwines with Tony Stark. And someone that had complaints, oh, Tony is in the movie. Tony's entire point was his character arc being linked to his past and Peter's future. Yeah. So this goes to my second thing to bring up. Tony's character arc is all about becoming an example, a father figure. He seeks and tries to be supportive as he can toward a teenager that he sees like his child, Peter. By giving Peter his first suit, he shows the support his father most likely didn't really get to do. By taking away the suit, Tony wanted to teach the lesson to the kid. Said kid would neglect. Maybe I got okay. Rewind. Tony wanted to teach a lesson to Peter. He also realized that maybe he did a mistake because by giving an Avenger suit to a kid, said kid would neglect his kid life. So in other words, when he gave that suit, Tony thought he was doing the right thing. He was like, you know what? I will consider you an adult. But then he realized when he throws away his school and it's all about being an Avenger, Tony kind of realized, damn, I was wrong. I actually gave him a suit. I actually did the exact same as my father did.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's why, he has a lot of issues with his, like, I would say maturity or, just attitude as well because of how he was growing up and trying to, and I think throughout the film, like, he also kind of grows up a bit or understand things like that too with his character.
Is somebody else talking? Or?
Cole was talking for a moment.
Why does it keep doing this to me?
And it's just on Cole. That's the weird part.
It's so weird. All right.
God. But also, as you said, with like trying to be a father figure, but yeah, he doesn't like quite.
He doesn't know how to.
Yeah, because he never really never really done this before, never really had one either. It's just like you can see it throughout the film and like realizing like, he did stuff that, he shouldn't have as well. And, and same thing vice versa with Tom Holland as well. Like I think there's a lot of growth for both characters here. There was one part of it I didn't like though. I will say the execution I thought was poor when he like took the suit away and everything else, or like that part of it. I thought was poorly handled myself, but otherwise, yeah. Now I continue.
So now let's keep going on right after neglecting a kid life. By removing away the suit, Tony hoped that Peter would live a normal life because he's like, oh, you know what? That suit makes you want to go out and be an Avenger when you're not ready yet. You're not a grown up. You're not an adult. So if I take it away, maybe you will be like realizing, oh, maybe you miss out on normal teen things. Like the perfect example would be the con he wasn't able to make it to because he messed up and he ended up in a warehouse instead. Um, so next up would be Tony also hoped that Peter would realize he's more than just a suit. Tony also struggles to show love to his kid because of the lack of love from his father. Tony giving a suit in the end was showing that he does care about Peter. Tony giving a suit in the end was also showing the viewer that Tony is now willing to support Peter, even if Peter most likely didn't want to fit Tony's plan. And this is after the entire adventure, Peter realized, wow. And that goes back to my next point. Peter declining the new suit would prove he's grown. He accepted that he is a child and he is thankful to Tony giving him the opportunity. And I feel like by the end of the movie, their bond felt real. Their bond felt like they have a relationship. It's endearing. It's really cool. So yeah, it's just I think that's the art of the movie, and that's why I liked it so much. And again, I didn't add that many issues, and the rest of the review is really short and sweet. As a moviegoer, this is top tier entertainment with great story, music, and action. The characters were entertaining and well written. Even as a reviewer, the story is great, and I only had two issues that were really nitpicks, like, oh, let's tear it apart, And the villain was entertaining, and Tony role in the movie was amazing. The action made the movie fast, peak superhero stuff here. Um, and again, like some of the belief is like, oh, there wasn't enough Tony, or other people are like, there's too much Tony. It's like Tony is important. He is part of Peter growing up. Tony is the Uncle Ben in this universe. So we need the Uncle Ben.
I think he's important, and I agree to like. I mean, so like that's that's the thing is a certain someone said yesterday or a couple days ago. That I can't remember what it was but like almost that he wasn't necessary, right? And I would give you that he's absolutely in the MCU. Tony is absolutely necessary to Peter. Tony was the one that brought Peter in at Civil War, who recruited him. Like you said, Tony is that mentor, father figure. One aspect that I think the movie does right, and that you don't see a lot of, is that Peter Parker is a genius. He's a genius just as much as Tony is, even at that age. He's that's the other thing about, I think, Peter that is kind of neglected in these movies. It's funny, they do a lot of things in these movies. They say a lot of things, but then the characters and what they do contradict them. It's like you said. So the point of the movie is, right, he's a kid who's growing up, being an adult in this universe and stuff. But at the end of the movie, he's still pretty much the same way going into the next movie. There's very little, like, it's weird. The point is there, but the character stays for the most part the same. He doesn't really grow up. He still continues to rely on Stark Tech and all this going into the next movie and that type of stuff. And same thing like I was just saying with the other point there is that they
Mhm.
talk about and mention that he's a genius, and Tony, tells him you're a smart kid and you're this and blah blah blah. But then they contradict that by him being so needy and dependent on Stark and everything Stark, and very rarely is he able to scramble himself out of a
Yeah,
situation.
well, what I
This
will say though is I do kind of agree with you to a good extent, Austin. I do, but you could make an argument that he was like that in the next film. Um, well, because he was like trying to learn things himself, involved in that, and he was kind of using it as a way to like take inspiration and make his own stuff. But also, secondly, because of Tony's death, he like then felt like more depressed or like and like closed off to an extent when it comes to like certain things and in combat, where then he became more dependent on it again, and to also like I guess like not feel like as just as depressed, I guess, just like knowing that with his death, like by like using his gadgets and stuff, like a part of him still being there.
Yes, but even then, right, the whole point, like, and I don't want to get too much into the next movie, but even then, it's contradicted because most of the movie he's dependent on it, and it's not until the end sequence that he goes, "No, I'm going to use my spider sense. I'm going to do this and that," and that's my favorite part about that sequel is he becomes Spider-Man for a second. He's dependent on himself and his powers and everything. Um, and No Way Home does the same thing. It's these weird treads where like they address it for a moment and then he just goes right back to it. And so that's my biggest issue with and it's but it started with Homecoming is that they address a lot of things like you said they address that he needs to grow up and all that but he doesn't really. He's still I mean going in the second movie and stuff. Ned is still his freaking what do you
guy
call it
in the
like his
chair.
yeah, guy in the chair and all that stuff.
I gotta say I get where you're getting at, and it's hard to disagree. But I will say to Peter's defense, yes, he did rely on the suit, but he was still able to create his own web shooter, which is
Yeah.
a good showcase of being smart. But maybe they
Yeah,
praise his intelligence too much, but he was able to make his own web shooter, wasn't it?
I mean, that's why I think was so funny about No Way Home is the other two Spider-Man came in and they are just compared to
yeah,
this kid, they're
yeah.
genius. Albert
I mean, there's
Einstein.
moments where they do with like Tom, like what they should with Spider-Man, especially like the Doctor Strange fight, like using, not to spoil too much, but I guess oops.
Because
But anyway,
I haven't seen Multiverse of Madness. I've heard most spoiler, but it's been a long
well,
time, so
no,
I don't
it's not.
remember.
It's not involving that film. Don't worry. But
Okay.
anyway, he uses math and stuff. But it's because though, since because of like the MCU, where it's like in the first film they were starting to do that stuff with and with like Tom's arc, but they had to put a halt in it in the second film because of the stuff with Endgame and everything and Tony Stark. And then in the third
Mm-hmm.
film they decided to put a halt to it even more for nostalgia. So it's because yeah, they like
Well,
didn't do anything with it, and that's why it's like basically the next trilogy of films is going to be like his real start, which is pathetic. How it like
which
took
is
three
wild,
films
yeah.
just to feel like we finally got somewhere like with the character, like as much as like the others did in just one film.
Yeah. I completely agree. You get to that end sequence of No Way Home where he's finally done all this stuff and you know, he's finally on his own and you're like, finally. Now I'm interested. Now I want to
Yeah.
see what this kid can do, like at least that's where I was at. So that's another thing. It's like I was so excited. Obviously, in Civil War, I was so excited at the trailers for Homecoming. I'm a big Spider-Man. Spider-Man and the X-Men are my favorite characters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or of just Marvel comics in general. And so I jumped at the opportunity of after all these years of having Spider-Man solo, him interacting with other heroes in the Avengers and all that type of stuff. I think Civil War did it really well. But after that, his solo movies, I think the execution just wasn't there for me. In that his own personal story was never felt like and his own personal progression never felt like it really happened, and it took 3 movies for that to happen, and there was cool and interesting stuff there. Like Cole said, 3 you had a lot of nostalgia. 3, in my opinion, was just that was a jump of the gun because of the success of Into the Spider-Verse, and I think that was Marvel going, oh, we need to do this live action immediately, and I think they should have waited, but yeah, they just continue to not really progress him, but still make 2-hour movies. It's really weird. It's really weird. But yeah.
That's sad. I was looking forward to rewatch like Far From Home, and I will tell a backstory Cole knows about. But you guys are new to the podcast, so I will bring it back. So I did see the start and the end of No Way Home, and the backstory is I have a good friend, and I go spend a Saturday with that friend. We drink beer, we listen movies and music and such, and we get wasted while watching movies. So
Heck yeah.
while watching No Way Home, I got wasted. I passed out like after the bridge scene. I passed out and I woke up. I see 3 Spider-Man. I'm like, what is going on here? It's a fever dream. I knew that was a thing, but the first thing I would see when I woke up was this. So I was
Yeah,
like, man.
It's got its great moments and stuff. I think you can't deny that but it's still just, again, like, it's a weird. He doesn't really progress. Even in that movie, he leans on Doctor Strange, then he leans on the other 2 Spider-Man, then it's just, yeah.
It's sad. It's very sad.
Yes.
But to close off Homecoming,
Did Bob give his take on Homecoming?
I think you started with,
Yeah, I went first.
yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I feel like, yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about.
Yeah,
Mine
took
took forever. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like that. I just got a lot to say when I take notes.
Heck yeah.
Because I take detailed notes. Like I want to give good content, good reviews.
All good
it's
arguments.
good to be thorough.
Very good discussion. I agree.
Yeah,
Everybody's got their
Thank you
great
for
points.
actually explaining, properly why you like or dislike it. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
don't
thought it
know.
was bad.
Yeah.
The movie
Nice
sucks,
meet.
but I can't tell you why.
Or the movie sucks and I didn't understood it. Oh my. So yeah, I will give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. What about you, Austin? Austin?
I give it a solid. I give it a solid 5. I give it a solid 5. It's by no means a terrible film. There's a lot of things I feel like, and again, I don't like about it because it's just not the Peter Parker and Spider-Man that I'm used to and that I like from the comics. They're using a different one and leaning into a different one, and that's fine. And I just wish it would have been executed a little differently and better, but it's not a horrible movie. Again, that's the nice thing for me too. All of the Spider-Mans, not all. There's not one that's like, terrible or horrible. You're not one like the X-Men. You don't have a Dark Phoenix. Thank God in the Spider-Man universe. But yeah, I think it's 5 out of 10 for me.
Nice. And this is funny. I will go on a very small tangent before I pass the mic to Bob. You mentioned Dark Phoenix. It's hilarious. I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 of the Fox universe. Actually, I've seen the trilogy and all of the Wolverine ones, but I think I've seen only like Days of Future Past. But any other team, actually, I've seen half of them, but the other half I didn't. So a lot of it will be brand new. Like Apocalypse, I haven't seen it. Dark Phoenix, I haven't seen it. What else there is there?
That's for the better.
But I will cover them eventually. So season 8 of the podcast, will be a 10 episode, which will be a very short season for this podcast. And I will go through the Fox universe
Oh, boy.
and all of the other bad Marvel flick. Maybe not like Ghost Rider and Punisher. I keep them for like the very end of the podcast, but
Daredevil
like,
and Elektra.
yeah, yeah. This is the schedule. I've seen Daredevil. I haven't seen Elektra. I have morbid curiosity.
Elektra is a trip. Elektra
And-
is the Catwoman of the Marvel universe.
And the other Fantastic Four in 2015, I've seen the other two because that was like right down my alley. That was like some of the first few like superhero movie I've seen in theater, right alongside with Batman Begins. But
Nice.
like my mother was a bit paranoid and she was worried I would be driven nuts. So like she was hiding my eyes with all of the scarecrow scenes in Batman Begins. But I've seen the rest of the movie where there was no substance given or toxin given. Anyway, that's enough for the tangent. Future streams, very excited about it. I cannot wait to cover these MCU shows in season 10. This will be another trip.
Oh,
Cole and I already covered Miss Marvel, and that's funny because I think that's one of the first few things we ever covered, but that was near the end of
Yeah,
the show.
I mean, the very first thing we ever covered was She-Hulk.
From start to finish, because we did
Yes.
cover Miss Marvel.
Yes, and that I think that gave us like
Cole, you
permanent
put yourself through
damage.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like half
Wow.
my brain is missing now. You know,
And
Did you
that
get
was
a worm in your brain? You ate a
probably.
piece of-
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna run for president now.
and we that's also the first time we had Showmonger on the show. Showmonger was the first guest to join us, and we talked about She-Hulk twice. So the first time Showmonger came, that was right after the show started, and he was like, "I don't know what guys are smoking. I disagree with the both of you," and like we were roasting the show from the start.
You're telling me Chill liked it?
No, wait. When he came back, when the show ended, he was like, "Guys were right." So it took
Yeah.
him like the entire
Well,
show to
Chill-
realize we were right.
Chill is used to being Ron. Okay, he also thinks that John Stewart isn't a Green Lantern, but that's a stream for another day.
I enjoyed Killmonger. I wish he was there. He
We
was
all
there
love
for the Civil War and Doctor Strange stream. That was a great stream. But anyway, our circle of the internet is just wonderful. And now, enough of that tangent. Bob the Goon, what would be your score out of 10 for Homecoming?
So I would give Homecoming, I would give it a solid 7.5. Again, like I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Tom Holland's portrayal of Peter Parker. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea or the prototypical Peter Parker everybody might be used to from the comics, but I don't know. He does have a certain charm to him, I think, and I don't know. He
Does he tickle your pickle, Bob?
He does. He kind of does. The way he acts kind of does tickle my pickle, and I don't know. Like that was the first time I think seeing him like where especially after seeing Raimi's Spider-Mans and the Amazing Spider-Mans, the two of them, where I don't know. That's the first time I actually felt like I was watching like almost seeing like a live action Spider-Man from the cartoons I grew up watching. That's like how it felt to me. So that's why this one, it's a guilty pleasure for me. I definitely enjoy this one a lot. But I also agree though with Austin. Like the unfortunate part is the development of the character. It takes 3 movies to get any development out of him. You know, so the arc is like very slow going, if you even want to call it that. It's more of a hill than an arc, really, that he goes through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still think it's solid. It's a solid 7.5 for me.
Nice.
Nice. What about you, Cole?
I'd give it a 6 out of 10, and it might be a point higher. I think realistically, it's more of like a 5 out of 10 right down the middle for me, but I'm a giant Spider-Man fanboy, so I think like any of the Spider-Man films, I'll just give like a point higher. Like I gave
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 like a 3 just to be nicer, and because there were things that made me laugh and I thought were sort of creative, at least like their attempt. But realistically, it's probably like a 2 out of 10 because that shit is terrible. But yeah,
You know
6
what?
out.
You know, that's sum up how crazy I sound. I like it. That's amazing.
We get it,
That's fine.
Um, we are different. Like, we are different. Anyway,
Yeah, actually,
we are.
and your reasons as well. So all good, Like, again, I'll bring up Roger Ebert again with Home Alone 3. He loved it, all right, and that's insane to me. That's a garbage film to me, but he at least explained his reasons where I'm like, all right, and that's the thing, and that's what a good critic is. Where I'm like, okay, he liked it because he likes how the film like empowers like being a kid and having like control and everything, and just like the first and second Home Alone, I'm like, okay, fine, even if I don't agree with you, So yeah, and I see your point too, Multi here.
So we are near the end now, and I gotta ask before we go to the proper outro. Cool, you have seen The Fall Guy. What did you think of it?
It was average to me, enjoyable, but yeah, average. I do have to go right about now soon, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But I'll just say, like, the trailer made it look a lot worse than it is. Definitely think it has enjoyment and is all right. Definitely not a poorly made film at all. I do like the actors. I do like all the humor in it, sort of, and how they're like playing, making fun of films and everything. Sure. Similar to Bullet Train, though, I've seen these films, like hundreds of these films, similar to The Fall Guys, and unfortunately, I just think the execution is very generic, and a lot of the satire and stuff wasn't that creative and didn't work for me, and it just felt like one of those films that like didn't try as hard with like the script and everything and the premise, like doing more unique interesting things, and just like used it more so as a reason to then make like a blockbuster like this with the two big leads and everything, and with a bunch of action. Really felt like it to me. Like, I didn't mind it at all. And again, I think the actors really did a great job too, the two actors there. But yeah, there's better films I've seen that have done this. It's just kind of mid for me. If I would have to give a comparison, I would say like a comparison, like it's not like the same genre or anything at all, but just a comparison of one that I also think is like kind of enjoyable, all right, and is like a comedy or satire thing with some action. Then I would say The Lost City with Shannon Tatum, and don't know if you've seen that, Austin, but yeah, that I would have give for like a comparison.
I hated that movie.
I didn't mind it, which is surprising because I fucking hate Sandra Bullock, but
I hate everybody in that movie but Brad Pitt.
But
that was right off his
that
was right off his wife beating accusation. So
I gotta ask you,
at
Cole,
this point, Angie deserved it. Anyways, go.
I gotta ask you, because you have clearly a very different opinion than me on that. Do you think it deserved to bomb the way it did? Like, it poorly performed. Like, I don't know, like, about this weekend by Sunday. I don't know if it will make back the money, but like, there was I think $30 million gap, something like that. So do you think it's deserved how poorly it performed? Like, it was I believe 110 million earned and 140 million budget.
It was 130 million that they made it for, and yeah, so far they have not made their money back yet. It's 108, and they would have to do like So they would have to do, I think, around for it to be successful. It'd have to be like at minimum like around 300 million, which is
Their
nowhere.
their only chance is making bunch of money this week, because next week they are buried by Man.
Oh well, no, there's no chance at this point that it reaches like a bunch. To me, I think they're doomed. They have to make like 300 million. It's already been like a few weeks or so or more, and they're
Yeah.
only at 100 million. They're not going to make much more than this. It will at most like cap out at around like 130 or like 150.
In the meantime, Abe did more money and it was the worst movie. I ate it. I myself.
Actually liked it more, but I didn't love either.
No, I didn't hate it, but like,
Yeah, it was also mid to me, but I did enjoy it more than The Fall Guy actually.
oh, that's surprising. Yeah, that's cool. So, since you're still here, so next Tuesday, I know you're occupied and such. I will still send you the link. We talk War of the Ape and Kingdom. If we are lucky enough to have you again. Yeah, that's next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Anyway, Cole, I think you said you needed to go.
Yeah, so I'm gonna head out, but yeah.
And we will all head out very soon. So yeah, we will have a very small backstage talk after. But Cole, thank you a lot, man. You're amazing. Take care, man.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
got to get going too, as well. Unfortunately, I have a
Okay,
prior
can you-
commitment.
Oh, okay. So actually, we can actually end it here since you also need to go. I guess thank you guys. Thank you a lot. This shall be the end.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you for coming. Like, a lot of times we
Yes,
get
sir.
people, they say they want to come but they don't. And I understand life, I won't name drop or anything, but you guys showed interest and you came. That's amazing. Thank you again a
Yes,
lot.
sir. Thank you.
And
course.
if Austin, you can stay maybe like 1 minute or two backstage. I have questions to ask you. So this shall mark the end of 108. Have a great night.